Okay, so welcome everyone to episode number 44 of the Peak of Serenity Podcast. As always, and for the first time on video, I'm one of your hosts, Emallson, and we are joined this week by my co-host, Anomoly,
Hello.
as well as two guests from the Peak of Serenity Discord, both moderators. Abelito, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Abelito. Everyone calls me Abe. I do a lot of Mistweaver stuff when it comes to just guide writing, the theory crafting, moderation, and WoW Analyzer.
And then we are also joined by Mickey once again.
Hey, if you don't know me, I'm also a Peak mod and I do Windwalker stuff.
So today we have a very fun episode because tomorrow Shadowlands releases at long last.
No, it's a lie.
We're gonna get a delay announcement tomorrow.
Late in the morning, yeah.
It's gonna be 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's not gonna be live. 4 o'clock tomorrow. We're gonna get an announcement on Twitter. Sorry guys, the expansion's been delayed until January 1st.
Yeah, they gotta get some more time for healing orbs.
Oh my
WoW
God.
is canceled.
Spheres. There's spheres.
No, yeah, you're right. Spheres. I'm so used to saying orbs, but typing spheres.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for this episode. There's a lot to talk about. So we want to get into our first little week in review. Do a quick week in review.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. There was a lot of stuff actually this week. More than we would want for there to be the week before expansion release. But it is how it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So we there was a couple interviews with our bud Ian and actually a bunch of different developers on the WoW side. So I would check out whatever your favorite WoW news aggregator site is for those interviews. A lot of interesting tidbits, but at least some of the highlights. They clarified some of the reset timings, so you'll see basically no need to rush. You'll get basically there's not going to be anything active until normal reset time Tuesday morning. So while the expansion will go live, Monday night for most of the U.S., you won't really get anything in terms of bonuses by leveling to 60 before 10 a.m. Eastern time Tuesday morning. So that's one thing. Good. I think they also added today or over the weekend, like you won't even get mall progression um, before Tuesday. So it's good news. They also clarified some of the catch up. So basically, everything has a catch up mechanic. So Renown, your Anima stuff will have catch ups. You'll be able to catch up from like swapping from like the normal systems like Honor and Conquest and things like that. However, there is not a catch up system for Soul Ash. So make sure you get to Torghast at least on the first week so you don't really fall behind in Soul Ash. Although it's not that much because they also said that only 3 wings are open the first week, something like that.
Yeah, there's 3 layers open the first week. There's 8 layers total. It's like 3 the first week, 3 more the second week, and 2 the last week.
Yeah, I think that's the way it works. So all 8 will be open for Heroic Week, basically. I think is the way it works.
So they're all in on the time gating for Torghast, which I don't know how I feel about it.
It's like it's only a few weeks and it's still raid launch. Like that's fine. I'm not too worried about it. But
yeah, there is. It does mean that like you can't week 1 try and really push yourself and get layer 8 done in leveling greens and Mythic 0 loot. Which some of us might like to do that, but
I saw some people mention like if you're trying to level up 2 characters like an alt in the first week and then pick after that, it's not as bad. You're not gonna have to do as much in one character. It kind of lets you ramp up into like picking a main. But,
yeah. I for those that aren't aware, I play Brewmaster. Well, more realistically, I play tank. So I am planning on having multiple alts leveled week one. What is required for my raid team is one tank main and one main alt. And then I personally have always been an altaholic, so I'm probably, since I can't, waste my entire week grinding Torghast on 2 characters. I'm probably gonna do, 3, maybe even 4 if I'm feeling really, really spicy.
That's a lot.
That's intense. That's intense.
Yeah.
I'll not be doing that. I'll be playing Monk. That's it.
Yeah, I'm like half of you. Like I'll be like, oh, let me start leveling my hunter, and I'll get him 1 level, and be like, yeah, okay, time to go back to the monk.
Oh, one of those characters, I guess. Once I get through my actual raid characters, my hunter's next on the list because my hunter was my main before I started being a tank.
Jesus, yeah, you're out of control. But yeah, I guess it does limit the amount of week one chores, which I guess is always. I mean, it makes it alt friendly, which I think it was what they wanted to over the for the expansion anyway. So yeah, so catch up Soul Lash is the only thing that's not really does not really have a catch up mechanic. Kind of confirm that, but they lessened at least what you had to do for that first week. Other really interesting tidbits. Tier sets are still planned. They didn't really give a date, but potentially second raid, we'll have tier sets back, which I am excited for. I love tier sets. We'll see how they actually do it. I'm assuming they're going to put some new Blizzard spin on tier sets. They're going to be terrible, but we'll see.
They're gonna disable your legendary.
Yeah, well, or like you have to wear like 1 of 3, and then it gives you 2% more damage or something.
Man, I hadn't even thought of that. I'm gonna pull up if I got this up right on stream. Hey, I did. Okay. I'm gonna pull this up. The question: are tier sets still planned for later on in the expansion? And Ian said they are still planned. We'll have more details to announce when we get there.
Yeah.
Sounds like there'll be some more details to announce.
Yeah, I hadn't really.
That.
I hadn't really thought about that. Like, it could. The charitable reading is that the details are what the tier sets are, like what actually the effects on the tier is.
My random guess is that it'll be something tied to what covenant you're in. So,
Oh no!
Maybe it'll all
Oh
the
no!
Don't tell me that.
Oh no!
I love it
That's
even
my
more.
guess.
Oh
I'm gonna hate
no!
okay, Kyrian is really good right now. Oh, their tier set's really bad, but their soul tree is really good.
We're gonna get like
And their power's
164 tier
alright.
sets, and
It's
they're
gonna be
all
great.
gonna suck.
No, but the one of the worst covenant, that one's gonna be good. It's gonna be like double the covenant's power, and you're gonna be like, wow, 20 or 50 seconds of Fallen Order? Wow.
God.
Wow! Yeah, no, that's gonna be awful. But hopefully that's all speculation. Hopefully it just means that they are actually going to just tell us what the tier sets do later in the. And maybe one of the things that is a possibility as well. If you remember, the last time we had tier sets was Legion. We had bonus rolls. We had more loot on the whole than we are going to have in Shadowlands. So there might also be a system put in place to help you get your tier sets in a more direct method, tokens. We already saw the return of weapon tokens. We might see the return of tier set tokens later this expansion.
Yeah, I'm assuming they'll bring back the token system, but we'll see. So yeah, so that was those tier sets, and then of course they had their token. We want to be more transparent with the players. Their I had to add this one in there for us because we talked about this, but they talked a little bit about how to have better communication with their player base, which was we need to be more transparent. And then they reworked a hunter covenant last Friday, or soulbind ability last Friday without any notice.
Did they actually? I didn't hear about that. Holy!
It was called the Hunt. It was on a.
Oh,
I
did hear about that. I didn't hear what they
It's
actually changed it to.
And then also nerfed. I don't really know what happened with it, but
yeah, it was like massive amounts of changes to it, like the Friday before the expansion. So
is that the one that like generates focus or something?
I believe so. Yeah. So it
was.
I know that some of the.
The Hunt is the Demon Hunter Night Fae one that's copy pasted from HOTS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's great communication, being more transparent, letting us know what they're thinking. So we'll
They
see.
There's a stealth change to one of the last soulbind traits in Nia's tree for Night Fae.
Oh, really?
That
You know what? Poison got nerfed and Burrs got buffed, or just Poison got nerfed. One of the two. Right?
Burrs got changed so it works on bosses now.
Oh, okay.
So previously, if you did sims, it wouldn't sim Nia's Burrs in SimC because it didn't work on bosses.
Yeah.
So now it will, which actually is a pretty decent buff for Night Fae on single target, at least for Brewmaster. We can talk more about Covenant balance later, but it's a pretty good buff for Night Fae.
That's interesting.
Love my 0 HPS buff.
God, yeah.
For Windwalker, it actually it pushed Night Fae into our best performing single target Covenant for like a day, and then we fixed some other APL stuff, and then Kyrian won again. But I mean,
Let's go.
Burrs was 4% of a Sim's overall damage, and
Burrs is very
that's
good.
really high.
It is
I
not.
think, personal opinion, it's totally gonna get nerfed, and then Kyrian will just be better. But we'll see.
I mean, it's not as good as Serrated Spalders is right now, but Serrated Spalders is also not going to unlock until like week 8 of the raid or some crap like that.
Yeah.
This is also the last trait, so it'll be that late. But I mean, oh yeah, but it's the first soulbind. I see what you mean. I mean, I'm just happy with Burrs because it's not the poison, which means you don't have to interrupt for stuff to proc, because that was going to be really annoying.
Yeah, because only one person can interrupt everything, or
yeah,
every time something gets cast, only one person can get the interrupt.
Yeah,
it feels much better as a healer too. Removes a dead soul tree or soulbind.
True. That is true. So fun communication comments. And then that's the other thing that came out was that the jailer won't be the final boss, kind of confirmed. So, I mean, I guess it just means we're gonna fight Sylvanas as the last boss. We're just gonna recycle Horde War Leaders as final bosses of expansions. So
no, you're thinking too small. We're gonna fight Azeroth as the final boss.
no,
Ooh, okay.
Again. I thought we already did. I thought that was what Argus was.
No,
that
was
we
Argus.
fought. I know you don't read the quest text, but you at least watch Novel, right?
Oh wait, we released 2?
You at least watch like Noble's lore videos? Nobles, whatever, how you say his name?
Yeah, let's just say yes.
I mean, well, anyway, regardless of lore quest,
Argus is Argus.
They told us in WoD that Rom would be the final boss, and then he wasn't. So I don't really take a comment like this at the beginning of the expansion as gospel right now. They also told us in BFA that the goblins would fire the cannon in Bilgewater, and that never happened. So
yeah.
I mean, let's look at the upside. If it is Sylvanas, the last good expansion was Mob, right? Like when it says good, I mean like head to toe, not like with an ending with a giant content drought.
Yeah.
And no like rocky beginning, right? And we fought a war, and that was like the final boss, right? Another war chief. So I'm just saying.
That's true, but she's not war chief right now. So.
Debatable.
We need the turn.
What's debatable about it? The Horde doesn't have a war chief right now.
I mean, you just bring in the VP, who was the last person apparently in this instance.
Oh my god. No.
Abe, you clearly don't read the quest text either.
Nope. The only quest text I read was like my first 3 levels in Classic, and then I stopped playing Classic.
That's fair.
All right.
So a little bit of insight potentially. There's a couple other interviews I didn't really get too into, but they interviewed a bunch of different, folks last week, normal pre-expansion stuff. And then of course they made a bunch more hot fixes. I really only put 2 in here. I'm assuming I'm missing some, but they made some changes to some of the Kyrian soulbind. So like Pelagos, his verse buff got changed to now a magic damage reduction thing that works very much like Windwalker Mastery. And then Clea, they kind of nerfed her initial ability, Valiant Strikes, to like less stacks and only procs once a minute, which still okay, but
I don't know about Windwalkers in particular, but for right now, Brewmasters have Forge Light, whatever his name is, sitting as the top bind for Korean.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
who's
We
the
have Pelagos and Clea
Barn?
pretty close, but Pelagos winning. As far as the last thing I saw an hour ago, which could have changed in the time I said that sentence, but
Yeah. I think it's just one of those things where probably Windwalker scales better with stats than Brewmaster, despite Windwalker's notoriously poor scaling. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think those are the two big ones. Like I said, I think they changed some of the stuff for some other spec or other classes. I'm sorry, like hunters and um, some other random stealth fixes to things. But I'm assuming we're gonna find more as we get into like the next 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for changes to pretty much every guide or whatever resource you use out there. Um, all right, then two more things, and then we'll get into the meat of tonight's episode. Multi-boxer bans are coming out, so Blizzard started banning folks for multi-boxing like they said they would. Um, which of course some people are happy about this, some people are sad. I, of course, as someone who buys most of the materials I need to do anything in this game, I'm a little upset because prices are going to be high. But no, yeah, they're banning. Those bans are coming out. So, and this, of course, is like specifically for using it's like
IS
Boxer.
Boxer.
Yeah, so using an actual program to multi-box, if you like have two accounts and have one on follow and you kind of tab back and forth, they're not going to ban you for that. It's just specifically using like a third-party program to like mirror inputs.
Yeah.
So that's coming out, which you're happy about, Emerson?
Oh yeah, I'm real happy. There's a okay. In patch 8.2, I picked up herbalism to pick up extra herbs to help make things, flasks and potions and things like that from Nashitar. Also because what is it? The scrapper made getting useless because you just scrapped all your gear and got your mats. It was easy. Um, and like in that patch, I could actually gather herbs and get a meaningful amount of herbs as a solo player early on in the patch. But as the patch progressed, more and more, druid farms showed up. And at some point, it was just like, why am I even wasting my time on this? Like, sure, maybe at the end of the day, the herb prices went down, but what ended up happening is the only place I ended up making gold for the rest of the expansion was doing sales.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Like you don't have to go out in the world.
I mean, don't get me wrong, selling Jaina and stuff like that is great, but there's a lot of people that aren't, in my position that can do sales for gold. So I honestly like. I think it's real good. I'm real happy
I'm
about it.
kidding. Yeah, I think it generally is probably going to end up being a good change, at least from an economy perspective. So,
So
um,
Loki, I still think the actual reason they finally made this change is because all of the world first level raiders were planning on using IS boxers to level all their characters.
really,
oh,
oh,
They were planning to multi-box level multiple characters at a time, and now that they are streaming that much more, I think that finally forced Blizzard's hand, where they were like, because of the way that the raiding community tends to follow the leader, often way too slavishly.
yeah,
If all of the top guilds are doing this, people are going to start doing it and feeling like they need to do it, even though it's totally irrelevant for most of us. I'm going to level my characters one at a time, and there's not a damn thing you can do to stop me.
I'm gonna do it whether you like it or not.
But yeah, I think it was actually because there was going to be a big streaming presence of multi, and
Yeah,
that's what they actually were addressing. And the herbing is just a convenient scapegoat.
yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. But now you just gotta stay logged in, and you can get your satchels, right? From your soul dines.
God, yeah, exactly. Those extra
This was
mats from
planned
your soul
long
lines.
ago.
Oh man! All right, and then the only other final week in review is that Blizzard released 4 lo-fi, basically remixes of zone music for each of the 4 covenants. So, like in Bastion, Maldraxxus, Ardenweld, and what the Ventir place is called, I forget.
Revendra.
In any event,
Yeah.
Revendra. Oh, thank you, Mickey. Yeah. So they basically released lo-fi versions of those, and they also released, funnily enough, a 2-hour just like loop of it on YouTube. It's great. So it's 2 hours of those 4 songs over and over again. The songs are actually pretty good. So check it out. It's actually not DMCA'd, so you can listen in like your house without getting arrested, which is good. Um,
Dude, they're
a
coming to
bonus
take
one.
your house.
So
There's too many
Exactly.
stairs. They probably
There
won't
are
want it
dude.
either.
Yeah, dude. Right before this was like sprinting.
um I'm someone that's like not at all familiar with lo-fi. Is the like person writing thing, like doing homework or whatever, taking notes, like
Yeah.
a thing for lo-fi
Yeah.
videos?
So
Yes, it is.
yeah, so like one of the biggest like YouTube streams of lo-fi lo-fi hip hop beats is like a person with headphones on like doing homework.
Okay.
And that's like the original big sort of like image that sort of you associate with lo-fi. And so yeah, Blizzard did like their version of it for each of the 4 covenants, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, the backgrounds for it are cool. I noticed that like the art on them is good. The cat, which you can see on stream, the Maldraxxus cat is adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were pretty good. I enjoyed it.
So that's basically everything that happened last week. So actually a ton of stuff. The interviews were interesting, some interesting things. So so cool. I think anything you might have missed, I think that's everything. I probably missed some stuff. There's just a lot.
There's one thing I did want to bring up.
Okay.
Specifically, I wanted to talk about Babs at Windwalker earlier today.
Yeah, he was not very happy.
Oh yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Let's see.
Babs pinged all the
Babs-
Windwalkers to basically say, like, to give a general notice of everything is changing every second. If what you saw yesterday might not be true today, or in an hour, or in a week, you should basically just pick the covenant you want to play most, instead of trying to follow like this one does the highest numbers or whatever. And then ended it with F this system. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of the many pings I ignored from him. Okay.
Yes. Yes. This is accurate. This is super, super accurate.
Yeah.
I did Sims earlier today. I had to redo them later today because we found a bug in how Night Fae was simming for Brewmaster. Because he was simming with the Windwalker ability. Brewmaster ability. That was fun.
Yeah.
And even like I had to redo Sims today that I did on Friday. The hotfixes on Friday. And it's like these numbers are probably gonna be wrong on Tuesday because we're gonna get hotfixes on Tuesday. And so I'm writing all this stuff, and with my luck, they're gonna nerf charred passions or whatever by 10% on Tuesday, and everything's gonna be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I said the same. I still get even like the Mistweaver stuff when I wrote that State of Mistweaver article. We were just talking about that, right? Where I wrote it 9 days ago, and people still link it and been like, "Why is it saying such and such is better?" Or like Emini isn't 15% int anymore. And I'm like, dude, like it's like 9 days ago. There have been multiple changes to pretty much everything. So yeah, it's this is I mean I don't remember another expansion going into this where stuff is changing that rapidly, right?
Yeah.
So
Super volatile.
I mean I think it's
So
like
hang on 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I need to adjust my audio settings. So Anam, please continue talking until I tell you to stop.
okay. Yeah, so no, I was saying it's like I think this is one of the biggest or one of the most changing expansion launches like I remember in a while. In terms of like systems changing randomly, not randomly, but just different things changing fairly drastically, I'd say, even like a week before. So, yeah, it's crazy out there
You
in
just
the
gotta look
world.
at you just gotta look at Shadowlands like you're a goldfish.
God,
Everything
yeah,
is new every 4 seconds.
Wow, what an analogy.
it's pretty good.
I was
That is
working
pretty
on
good.
that one. It was in the
Yeah.
lab.
That was good.
So yeah,
That's what you work
sorry
on in your
everybody that
lab?
was watching. I forgot. I had a lot that happened this week. But so I didn't get to set up all of this early like I had planned to. But I forgot I have my desktop audio settings in OBS set lower than my microphone. So you're probably able to hear me just fine. But because of that, Abe, Anam, and Mickey would be quieter. So apologies for that. They should be better now.
No worries. But yeah, I mean, I think that was the, how was I saying? Yeah, so that was like the sort of the crazy stuff is I think Babs is right. I put a little bit of that in sort of the Mistweaver announcement um when we posted that all of our stuff was basically live. So I don't I don't feel the same like like fuck like the FU type mentality I think that Babs has at this point, but I know that Babs does a lot more for like windwalkers across the big sites out there.
I
So
feel like Babs has been trying to write these guides for a month, and
yeah.
I did that. You should see. There's still memes about this pinned in Drinking Buddies, the veteran channel for brewmasters, about my experience doing exactly that with Azurite traits. Like every single like week, even more frequently than that, because of how much they put hot fixes out on beta. I was simming and resimming and resimming and resimming Azurite traits.
Yeah.
I had to change things so many times.
It's funny that as a healer, I don't have to do sims, but it also means that like a lot of what we do is very much theoretical before we get into a raid. So like all of our changes end up happening, I think, like post like the first couple weeks of raiding, right? In terms of like what actually ends up being good or bad or whatever. So
Yeah, Lincoln says, but Babs is also pissy because his spec is just garbage. Mickey, can you confirm?
He's old.
Oh no, have you ever done PvP? Does that count as a real game mode anymore? Yeah.
I
What's
did,
PvP?
because you had to for Conflict and Strife, so I did PvP.
Yeah, but didn't Blizzard like essentially
wasn't as
say that it
Brewmaster.
wasn't anymore? Like they were like, "Hey, yeah, you guys get rewards or something. We'll think about it later."
Well, I mean, they have a vendor now. That's like what a lot of people wanted, and it'll be one of the big 3 rows in the Great Vault. So if you want more loot options, might be worth checking out.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of getting gear at eye level, it's grateful. It's going to be doing PvP is going to be fine for that. But each row in the Great Vault comes from that kind of content. So like if you do PvP and you get your PvP row, all of the loot in that row comes from PvP. So like you can't get a raid trinket from that row. But
well, it still might be an eye level upgrade if you're just trying to gear up.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're fishing for something like the badge trinket from BFA, then that'll be great.
Yeah, plus we gotta go do PvP to get that honor so we can buy rollout.
Yes, the most powerful legendary ever conceived.
We need it, man.
God.
On another note, I'm pretty sure shamans actually, like resto shamans, really do like their PvP legendary.
Please don't tell me that. I'm gonna quit my shaman before I even start.
No, I'm just saying it just to make you stressed.
Great. God. Go to AG and ask them what's up.
For those that are curious about what rollout is, this used to be the legendary that gave you an extra charge of roll, which was actually like, I won't say good, but defensible. Like, there's a reason for that to exist.
Yeah.
This one says, during roll, you are immune to roots and snares.
But it doesn't break them.
It does not break them.
So
It doesn't give you any immunity after.
You have to time it for mid-roll to get rooted.
Like, roll takes less of the GCD to complete. So it's like snare immunity for under a GCD.
That's great.
And you have to predict that it's coming in there.
This is like a really, 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 really bad form of what Demon Hunters could do in BFA with their Blade Dance and immuning things, because it gave 100% dodge. Except it's extremely bad because it's only roots and snares. Yeah. And if you do roll to immune a root or snare, it will actually put you out of range of what you were trying to hit anyway. So, what's the point?
Yeah.
That's so
I mean,
good.
and like, wasn't extra roll charge really that overpowered that it couldn't go live?
They could
Like,
combine them, and I think it'd be fine.
like 3 charges of heroic leap was totally fine in Legion, but 1 extra charge of roll is too much. Like,
Whoa, but you see, the issue is when you take celerity. I think that's what it's called, and you have
well,
4 roll charges.
I am the champion of celerity, and
Yeah.
I never switch off it. But yeah, I could have 4 charges.
That would just be too much.
I mean, I like celerity. I actually really like that talent. And I mean, I feel like the top row on this podcast is going to yell at me for saying that. But maybe Mickey already took the.
Yeah, I always use it. The only time I didn't was during Gahoon for freeing people with Tiger's Lust.
Yeah, I mean, I use
I can't
Tiger's
believe
Lust
you
basically
guys,
always, even though I
DPS
like.
and tanks are so lazy. Like, you literally have a free root dispel available to you, and you're just not taking
Wait,
it.
wait. I
roll
used
3
Tiger's Lust the entire expansion, even though I like Celerity better, because Tiger's Lust is better than Celerity. Okay.
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 I'm not,
Also,
no
because I
longer.
was tanking with a blood DK and I needed to help him.
That's literally, yeah. I use it on our DKs all the time. So slow, man. Class. All right. I think it's time to start talking about our talk. I think a little roundtable talk. If you guys are ready. So if, I don't know, I'll give a quick little intro. So I mean, I think what we wanted to do today was really just sort of get a little bit excited about the expansion. So do just a little roundtable, touch on some of the things that we think are cool that are coming out. Try and not be too down about things, I think, is the goal here. But really sort of focus on like, hey, what do we think is going to be cool in terms of like the zone experience, or like some cool dungeons or interesting bosses, right? Or what coming in the raid is going to be sort of exciting. So I think that's the goal for the episode. So it's really just sort of like last night before the expansion, what are we hyped about? What are we excited about? Um, so yeah, so I think, I mean, first up really is just sort of my personal favorite time, and I'll give a little background. I love leveling in any game. So like I've said this before, when numbers go up, that's my favorite thing. Like idle games, numbers going up, love it. Any other type of stuff like that, when the numbers get bigger, I'm excited. So I'm really excited for leveling. Um, so I am gonna go as hard as I can for at least the first like 6-7 hours. So I'm gonna be there at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm gonna play till probably 1 or 2 o'clock, and then wake up early the next morning at like 6 and get right back into it. Like that's the goal. So I don't know about you guys.
I mean,
It's getting a little crazy.
I also really like leveling, but I turned my XP bar off, so I wouldn't say it's because numbers go up.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that, honestly.
Oh yeah. I turned my XP bar off.
I got a special weak aura that shows me how fast the numbers are going up. I love it.
Yeah, like Titan panel back in the day.
Exactly. It's
you
like
have the
XP an
XP
hour.
per hour. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
I'm probably just gonna get like one level and be like, "Oh, this is boring," and get off.
Yeah.
I have such a hate for leveling, specifically having to level through quests. If I can just go spam dungeons for like 4 hours and be done, or just get the same amount of XP, I'm happy. But if I have to go like manually do each quest and be like, all right, what does this person need? And they're not going to give me what I should really get for all the work I just did.
Wow, ungrateful. But I mean,
Buddy, I'm spending
just
like
think of
30
it as
minutes.
you're only gonna have to do this once, and then you can do the I'm bored, I want to do bonus zones forever mode on alts. Presumably they do that so it's not really bad XP wise, but
I completely
I
forgot
haven't
about
checked in a
that.
few weeks.
I'm so happy now.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, the first time around, you have to do it once. Like that's fine.
Is it?
Yes.
Y'all
The
are
story
crazy.
isn't important enough to merit it.
I mean, I'm looking forward to regularly leveling tomorrow. I'm guessing, I mean, I might hit 60 tomorrow. We'll see, but I'm looking forward to more like I want to try Torghast. I want to try other random stuff and check out the dungeons and everything because I've been like, I haven't really done much on beta. I've only played I did one dungeon ever, and I didn't level. I just messed around with stuff on training dummy for theory crafting purposes. So like it'll all be actually fresh to me and not like in BFA when I actually leveled to 120 on a real character. So yeah, it'll be fun, kind of like spoiler free in a sense, going through the zones and everything. Yeah.
It'll also be really fresh for me because I don't have beta.
Did you ever get?
I do
Wow.
not have beta. I'm gonna go.
How
That's so
embarrassed.
good.
Buddy,
I'm
I,
pulling
like
this
on
up on
all
stream.
the
So
You all can
good.
see right here. Oh, come on, BNet. Cooperate with me.
on all like
I
the
can't
Steam
even
giveaways.
click the drop down. Oh, there it
There
is.
it goes.
You're not even
Yeah.
allowed on classic.
Oh man, I have 2 betas on mine. I have a 7x
Yeah.
and an 8x.
Yeah.
I do
You're
too.
not the only one.
Actually, I have a 3 and a 4.
That's
Not a
so
7
funny.
and an 8.
Well, higher numbers are
Uh-huh.
better.
Yeah.
Well,
funny.
or they're the last.
That's
Or
funny.
closer to last, I guess I should say.
But yeah, God, it's so funny. Yeah, no, I'm so excited about this. Like this is the best time ever. Leveling up. Get all your gear goes up too. Like oh my gosh.
So what I'm actually looking forward to is since I basically did not play most of BFA, I have like mostly gear from Ice Crown in the last 2 weeks, and like replacing it and being like back on the same footing as everyone will be nice. Like the clean slate. That'll be good.
Do you know what
Exciting.
eye level the initial intro quest gear is in Shadowlands?
No idea.
It's like 120, 130.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
good. I'm at 110 for everything
all right,
basically.
good. Because if you
Yeah.
didn't have the Ice Crown gear, so I finished leveling my DK and Vengeance Demon Hunter past couple weeks,
hmm
and they're at like eye level 60.
Yeah, I have 19 alts, and they're all between 50 and 60, pretty much.
Yeah.
Eye level.
So if you are planning to level tomorrow on one of those characters and you have not done Ice Crown, you probably want to go hit some world quests.
They haven't unlocked
Yeah.
World Quest either.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
yikes.
I'm just gonna basically go into it on
you
alts
get
and
world
hope that it
quests. All you have to do for world quests these days is just you go and do a quest to get your flight whistle from the boat. Zarlord. So
you
it's
don't
not
want to do
that bad. But
EFA zones
yeah,
during
no,
Shadowlands.
nobody wants to.
Like,
But yeah, you want to do that, or you want to like buy some cheapo crafted gear off the auction house or something. Just anything to get your eye level to bridge the gap between literally eye level 60 and eye
Yeah.
level 120, because it's
Well,
a
actually,
big gap.
what I should do on a few more, but I did this on a couple, is at least go kill Nathanos, which I don't mind doing over and over again,
Oh.
just to get them a decent weapon. That'll help a good amount, I think.
So I actually got that wrong. Bastion gives item level 90, not 120. 20 is
Okay.
later.
Yeah, that's a big
It'll be a
difference
couple
right
levels
there.
before I replace stuff. That's fine though.
Yeah. I
Actually,
think when I
what's
leveled, it
really
made it.
funny is on some alts, I had such bad gear or like such outdated gear that my paladin, I was doing the balance of power quest line. So I went and soloed Nighthold, and I got upgrades from
Oh man.
regular, totally normal.
So
So yeah, I'm using Draft of Souls on my paladin now for
Panini
Shadowlands level.
Peony switched to Vengeance Demon Hunter.
Yep.
And their Legion artifact, they're like maxed out higher eye level relics. Legion artifact was an upgrade from their like EP era weapon.
I mean, most of my alts are still wearing their artifact. That's just the ones that don't have a Nathanos weapon are wearing an artifact for like 90% of them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I did all of them in Legion. I didn't touch almost any of them in BFA. So they're just like little
Yeah.
time capitals.
If you do have a high eye level artifact, it's actually probably pretty good.
I don't. I only played Monk
Yeah.
in Legion because I'm a slave to AP going up.
Dude, what
Yeah.
That does
what
not
other
surprise
spec do
me
you
at all.
need when you got Monk?
That's true. Yeah, you only need one.
I got all of the artifact, like the mage tower skins, mages and warlocks, and a couple of the healer ones, mages and.
Yeah.
We have in chat that eye level 50 gear is kind of overstated sometimes, which is definitely true. I've noticed in my bank, my old Legion collection of all 6 tier pieces from all 3 tier sets, uh, every single one of them is eye level 50 right now. From the Mythic Warp
Okay,
or,
yeah.
the Heroic Warp or Centaurus gear to, like, the normal Nighthold, just got it for transmog piece. They're all technically the same eye level right now, so there's definitely some
That's
fluctuation.
ew. We have
Kinda
eye
weird.
level scaling code in WoW Analyzer.
Let me
That
actually go
definitely
check if they
definitely
have the same
100% breaks on that
because
stuff.
I don't know if they do, but
But as long as nobody's using their Legion raid gear in Shadowlands raids, I think probably don't have to worry about that.
I
I
mean,
did see someone who he took the mythic profile that we were simming with, and he was trying to mess with it, and he accidentally left his character level at 50, but the gear was identical. It was just mythic Nathria gear, and his DPS was like doubled because scaling is weird. Like obviously you couldn't get that gear on a level 50, but
Right.
there's some funky stuff there.
and I mean, if like something from EP is OP, right? Or like not even Eternal Palace necessarily, but pre Shadowlands, like
Yeah.
Blizzard's gonna come in and
Oh yeah, for
scoop
sure.
that
They
out.
needed that
You
whole
can't have that much fun.
yeah.
That's why we got the big nerf wave this week of all the like BFA trinkets and stuff. Notably, they missed the tank trinkets. The tank trinkets are still really good. They're better than everything in Shadowlands so far. Which is not saying much, but they are better than everything in Shadowlands so far.
It makes me kind of want to go through all the healer trinkets from the last 20 years.
Our healing lead was telling people to hold on to their claw or whatever it is from Mott.
Oh yeah.
Claw, yeah. Mana's always great.
I mean,
Probably
I
should
still
be
got my
the initial ones.
I was just gonna say my Mechagon trinket with
Oh no, we don't talk about
Mechagon
Cyclo
class.
on this show. We don't talk
Yeah.
about Cyclo on this show because I need that to actually still be good the first week of raid.
I hard deleted that trinket. Trash trinket.
I used
hate-
Cyclo this week in raid. I've been
hate using
I
that.
used it this entire tier basically.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
one of
man.
the few like my bank is basically a Legion museum, and it's one of the only BFA items. There's 5 of them in the entire like 60 slots I have taken up, or like 100. I think I was one of the few survivors, but I am seeing that my like Mythic and Taurus tier set and Nighthold tier set, they're both eye level 50, and they both do have the same stats on the same slots. So no need to worry about weird, not actually eye level 50 stuff, I guess.
Got you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I mean, I think so. Leveling night. I guess mix of going hard, mix of taking it easy. I think this expansion, I don't think it matters
Yeah.
how hard you go, as long as you whatever main you think you're gonna play is max level and you do all your weekly stuff. By the
As
end
long
of
as
the
you
week.
don't miss like the first reset, or sorry, meaning as long as you get your character leveled within the next week
Yeah.
and do your weekly stuff in that time frame.
Well, and again, like we said earlier, the weekly stuff is kind of like toned down in the first week anyway. So you only have to do Torghast up to whatever 3 instead of 8 and all that.
Although
So
in the
I
future,
don't
like
think you are.
you can always start every week of Torghast at the highest layer you had done. So if you
Mhm.
wanted to, if you got layer 3 done week 1, week 2, you can start on layer 3 and then go up to
Mhm.
4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
And so you won't have to do literally all 6 layers. Take twice as much time in week 2.
Wait, but I thought you still get Soul Ash from doing 1 through 3 again. Is that not how
It's
it works?
like do you remember in Eternal Palace when you got the currency things for leveling up your Enhanced Life Force from the raid?
I didn't do it.
Oh, okay. So the way that worked was you got like 5 of them for doing normal, 10 of
Okay.
them for doing heroic, and 15 of them for doing mythic. So like in theory, what you would do is you would do all 3 difficulties and you would get 30. Except that
Right.
that's not actually how it works. If you did it on normal, you would get 5. If you then went and did it on heroic, you would get 5 more, which is the difference between the heroic amount and what you had already gotten from normal. Same thing with
Okay.
mythic.
Higher level drops the lower level included, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so for soul ash,
Yeah, that
like if
makes
you do a level, if you start at 3, you get it all the soul ash from 1 and 2 and 3 when you complete that 3. So
okay. That's pretty
it
nice,
makes it
actually.
easier like later on. Like yeah, like once you can like grind your way up to level or layer 8, you just have to do one layer 8 a week and you get all the soul ash you need. So it essentially cuts the time in
That's
like
pretty
an
cool,
eighth,
actually.
right? Yeah, makes it easier. So and you unlock layer 8 on your character. So you only have to do like you have to do one layer 8, and then like in Torghast there's 2 wings open every week. So
Hmm.
you have to clear both wings to get the maximum amount of soul ash. You basically just have to get to the highest like layer in one wing, and then you can start that next wing at whatever that is, right? So 3 the first week, 6 the second week, and then 8 the third, right?
I thought it was 3
So
until
sorry.
raid launch or something. Was it a
I don't
little
actually, I
earlier
don't
than that?
actually remember. I think
I
they
I
all
thought
thought it
open
was
before
3
raid
on.
launch, but
I thought it was 3 until
well
raid
3
launch,
first
and then
week.
6, and then for heroic week, and then 8 on mythic week. But I might have that wrong.
I mean,
Oh
with
yeah,
how
no,
many systems they have and how they're changing them, who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a great
Like I
point.
could be wrong, and then tomorrow they decide actually I'm right, and they change it. But
yeah,
you know.
exactly. Awesome. Awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like I don't know how many people actually leveled on beta, but I wanted to do a little bit of discussion on some of the zones that are out there, right? So, you got like the 4 Covenant zones and like Bastion, Ardenweld, Revendreth, and Maldraxxus. So, I mean, are there any that you guys are sort of have if you've leveled through them, sort of like excited about, or anything that seems pretty cool?
I did like 4, maybe 5 levels. This was early in alpha,
Hmm.
like second wave or something
Saying it's
stupid.
alpha now. I see.
I mean,
I see.
at least I got beta. At least I'm in the game, unlike some people here. No, like I was going through the Kyrian quest, and it was actually like pretty. I'm someone who hates leveling, so it was pretty enjoyable, I guess I should say. Like it wasn't making me want to rip my hair out. So like, Bastion seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, it's a good opener. Yeah,
I'm
Bastion's
just
very
looking.
much.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say Bastion is like an opening zone of the 4. I think they picked the right one.
Okay.
Like it's between that and Ardenweld. I think would be like my 2 of like here's how I want to start an expansion. But Bastion's a very solid opener. It's very like a Jade Foresty opener if you remember that from MOP.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Bastion's a solid zone like aesthetically. I don't know what's going on lore wise. There's like angels and something, and then the Shah comes back and
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I have no clue what's going on lore wise. Like I was chilling, they said go fight these things. The thing destroyed me, and they're like just as we planned. I was like, okay.
we
oh
need
I mean,
we need
yeah,
all right. We're gonna do this in the future. We're gonna have a lore according to Anam and Abe episode, and we're
okay,
gonna
This is gonna be great.
you're not getting to see the question list. I'm gonna
that's
come
fine.
in and I'm going to ask you to explain what happened at different points in time,
Oh yeah,
and
I,
we'll
But if you hit
see
me
what you
with one
say.
right now, it's gonna be on point, 100% accurate.
it's like the same energy as like I asked my grandma to name every Smash Bros character. Like they just get it completely wrong, and that's the fun.
I would. So here's the thing. I think I would get the gist of it right. Some of the details would be. Don't give me those eyes, Emallson. Some of the details would be wrong, but at
See, I
least I'd
feel
be like, look, this thing happened, and you know what I mean. Like I know, like
I feel
okay,
like there'd be an unfair advantage for him too, like the old man here too, because he's been playing
Ooh.
for a lot longer.
it's.
Full story.
Ooh.
I would crush you in any competition.
Buddy, you want to
Ready?
go?
Name it. No,
Who needs the content drought anyway?
it's true. No, but I think Bastion is a really solid one. Not hate, I dislike Malstraxxus greatly in terms of like its aesthetic and coloring. I think it's just
Yeah.
super bland. It reminds me of like EPL, just grossness. Um, Ardenwald's pretty cool. I think people overhype it. It definitely has like an Ori and the Blind Forest type feel to it. If you've played that game, or
Yeah.
just Ori, either of them, Will o' the Wisps too. Um, it's okay. There's like some dragon there that we watched die. She's back. Ysera or something. Um,
Spoiled.
hey, look.
What
And
am
then
I looking
Revendreth.
at?
Revendreth isn't bad, uh, in terms of aesthetics, but it sort of gets boring. It's very like gray and red. So if you like
Yeah.
red, which is a pretty good color. Is referenced by all the red behind me. It's not a bad zone. So, but yeah, I think Bastion ends up being probably my favorite zone in terms of
So
like just the
something
way aesthetic.
interesting about this one is that this is going to be the first expansion since Mists of Pandaria where everyone is funneled into the same zone when they start. Because WoD, you had Frostfire and Shadow Moon. Legion, you could pick your zone. BFA, you could pick your zone, and they were on separate continents. And now we're back in one thing. And it doesn't, as far as I know, which I might be wrong, it doesn't have the mop benefit of you're on completely different sides of the world, right?
No, we start in the same spot.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just
there you
saying,
go.
actually, that's a good tie into Abe's comment earlier about Sylvanas being the final boss here, just like Garrosh was of MOP. MOP largely considered one of the best expansions ever. Guys, 1+1=2 here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
gotta
then
agree here.
where is Monk 2, you know?
Yeah, no, they
Um,
missed that. They
It's
missed that.
Kyrian. That's what
It's
Kyrian is.
it's coming up. Don't worry. They didn't want to
Yeah.
spoil everything. Content.
That's what
9.2.
the details of tier sets are. That's
Yeah.
what the warrior tier set teaches you Tiger Palm. The rogue tier set teaches you Breath of Fire.
Plus,
The mage tier set teaches you Crackling Jade Lightning, and priests get you Lawn.
No.
Disc priests
They
only.
priests get Essence Font. They get Essence Font.
No,
We can't
that's
be too
holy
nice. They
priests.
just get AFK. Oh
Holy
yeah,
priests get
that works. That
Essence
works.
Font.
And then the normal disc priest can get Chi-Ji because Chi-Ji's the DPS one.
plus, we all know Havoc was already Windwalker 2 anyway, so that part's a little taken. But, yeah.
But what extras do we get on top of it?
Nothing. That's the monk class
Oh,
fantasy.
okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe some more bugs.
They permanently take those abilities away from us, and give them to those classes. No, yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. Yeah, I didn't realize. Yeah, everybody starts in Bastion, literally in the same spot. So, get there early if you can.
That sounds
I feel like,
terrifying with war mode.
yeah,
Oh,
war mode
yeah.
might not be a great idea then. I don't know.
Dude, don't do it. Don't if you want to go have fun killing people in war mode, by all means go do that. But if you actually want to level,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Like maybe
Well,
it is.
also,
I expect we'll get sharded mostly into like shards with people from our realm on launch.
Yeah.
Because of how many people are going to be online. So if you are on like a 98% horde server or alliance server or something like that, like enjoy your free 20% XP, I guess. If you're not, it's not going to be 20%. It's going to be more than 20% slower to level.
True.
well,
in
but,
zone
like
mode.
since this is the first like linear, you're following zone 1 to zone 4 experience in a long time. Another thing I saw is like getting ahead of the pack will be a lot more valuable because like everyone being on the same quest step is going to happen a lot more this time. So if you can avoid that, it'll be pretty nice.
I don't think we've ever had that before. Have we? Because
What?
like if you think about Mop,
Yeah.
once you finish Jade Forest, you could go to like Krasarang Wilds, you could go to whatever the one north of Krasarang Wilds is, so you could split up at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Valley of the Four Winds.
Valley. Or
And
Valley of the
then
Four Winds.
once you hit like, 5 or whatever, or 83, then you had like 3 zones you could go to. So you started spreading out through the different zones at that point, and that's the most linear it's ever been.
Yeah,
Look
this
at
is actually going
Wrath.
to be the
Wait.
most linear by far, for sure. Like even Wrath, you had 2 starting zones, 2 ending zones, and you could mix it up in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably
Yeah.
actually the closest point of comparison is actually Final Fantasy for this, because they do have the linear story quest that you have to go through to unlock the rest of the game.
Well, I feel like they're taking some inspiration from it because I know, like in the quest log, it'll give you like a summary of the story up to where you are and all that.
I do like that they actually did mark the like main story quest in the quest log, so you can tell what it is. That's very nice.
Something else, dude. I do know in Legion when they weren't sure they could get the zone scaling stuff working in time, they did have a planned order for the zones, which I think was Azuna, Valsera, Stormheim, High Mountain, if I remember right. And like everyone would have been doing exactly what we're doing now, where like you're following the same zones in order.
Yeah.
But that probably wasn't a real consideration because they got it working pretty quick. So
Yeah, it doesn't I will say it probably doesn't take much to get ahead of the pack. Mostly, like if you can put in 6 hours straight off the start, like you're generally going to be ahead
Yeah.
of folks who are kind of falling asleep. So,
See,
um,
my biggest
Oh,
fear is those shard abusing alliance players that just have like 3 raids of people sitting at like New Home or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then just doing that at the where you get dropped off in Bastion and the first graveyard at Bastion.
kind of sitting there. I will say.
Oh my god. That's gonna happen, isn't it?
Let me just turn on war mode.
Yeah. I mean, I have war mode off. I'm not planning on turning it back on.
Dude, come on.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
I
I
turned
did
it
it
on.
for
There was a time
yeah.
during like 8.1 and 8.2 that I turned it on because server's dead. Got sharded in with Horde most of the time. And you just got, 15% more AP, and that's 15% fewer world quests that I gotta do. Without that, I am never turning it back on. At least on my tanks. Maybe on my DK. I might do it on DK. That one I can actually. Not a monk.
So I mentioned that I had my giant army of alts that had been sitting at 110 forever, and when pre-patch hit, I finally got them all from 45 to 50. So I did this massive gauntlet, and for that, I turned on war mode for all of them because I was either doing Silver Pine or Red Ridge, and there's no risk there. It's just free XP.
Yeah.
So I just turn it on, do a faction specific early zone that was really fast, and then be at 50 in 2 hours. So it was pretty nice.
I actually ran into a lot of uh, enemy faction players while leveling before the pre-patch. But it wasn't until things like you would get to Southern Barrens was actually extremely bad. Um, Southern Barrens, I tried to do it a couple times, and every time I got blocked by someone just camping one of the micro zones, and just had to go somewhere else.
So what I'm hearing here is that the Horde are nice boys that are just like, oh yeah, you guys can level in your zone specific areas, and the Alliance are like, nope, this is ours. They're just taking over the whole planet.
I think
That's
that's
true.
going to depend on what realm you're on, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Debatable.
It's going to depend on. I mean, I'm sure there's places in Stranglethorn you can go, and it doesn't matter what faction you are. You're not getting anything done because everything's dead.
Oh yeah, I did do Northern Stranglethorn on one character because I thought it would be fun. It was pretty fun, but that was the only time I actually did world PvP in war mode. It was actually pretty interesting that I was a level 45 and they were level 20 or 30, but there were 3 of them, and it was pretty fair. It was way closer than I would expect it to be, but
But did you
yeah.
win?
Uh,
Yeah.
sometimes there were 3 or 4 different fights, and I won a few of them. I had a good time.
Mickey, you're just supposed to say you won all of them. No one's gonna fact
Yeah.
check you.
No
You're
one's gonna
supposed to
come
be
over
I
here and be
crushed
like,
them.
But if we look at your
We are.
armory, we see here 5 deaths in world PvP.
they knocked him off the ledge. It wasn't a real battle.
it
It was
yeah.
fake.
He went to get a water. AFK. No. Interesting. Yeah,
They're petty kills, you know.
exactly. I just wanted to get their hits in while you weren't there. So, yeah, I mean the leveling experience I think it'll be fun, but I mean Bastion will be the only zone you guys like. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Rest of them are not that great. But yeah,
I don't
Emallson, if you
know.
want to ask me lore
Okay,
questions,
hang on. No, that can't possibly be right.
what do you mean? It's 100% right.
Okay, so
I just
let's
said
go
it.
through our zones real quick. We've got Boring Castle. Got
Okay.
Ori in the Blind Forest.
Yep.
We've got
EPL
Buglands
2.0.
2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yep.
That one's actually probably going to be boring. And we've got Castlevania 3D.
Yeah.
At least 2 of these have to be better than Boring Castle.
Okay, I will say I did not like the leveling part of Vampire Land, but the hey, I picked your covenant and I'm gonna do 6 out of 9 of your story parts because I got all the armor I cared about and was like, okay, let me test these bonus effects.
Mhm.
And it wasn't that bad. I didn't really have to force myself. There's one point where I gave up because one quest said, hey, do this and go into these tombs, and I went to every tomb and there was not the item I needed and got very angry. And I was like, I ran around for 30 more minutes, left the quest, took the quest up again, and it did the same thing, and I got very upset. But outside of that, I felt all right about it. Vampire Land is going to be okay. Probably still worse than boring Castle Land, but
It's not a boring castle. They're like fields of golden dead stuff, and like there's a sweet skybox. It's got like beautiful clouds, and like you're floating in a crystal like city in the air. I think that's where the order hall thing is.
Yeah.
So
Really
yeah.
selling me Anam.
hey, I mean, if you ask him a lore question, it's probably gonna be the same. And you're gonna be like, why do I play this game again?
And there's like angel people everywhere. Like you're basically like the champion of, I don't know, something. It's great. I mean, it's light and airy, just like light themed Discord, which everyone uses. So I mean,
Oh
honestly,
no.
perfect covenant.
I need you to take a screenshot of our Discord channel right now, Anam.
Yeah, just where are the options again? Like, how do you change the? Yeah, no, I don't use light themed Discord, but
I use light mode text editor for code, and I get shit for that. So I feel your pain.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
no,
I
I
use
think
Light Notepad plus plus. I have that open almost all day at work.
gross.
gross.
Sorry, Mickey, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, like, you talk about like the light mode order, or not order hall, but covenant hall, and it's like, I don't know if you guys do this at all, but unironically, how comfortable the covenant hall was to hang out in is a large part of my decision, and that's why I'm going night fight, of course. But that's like, I went alliance in quad for the alliance garrison because it was a way cooler, like, nicer zone to stand around in for 2 years. But
I
Not
am really happy that right now, like, there's like 20 to 30 DPS gap between the top Simmon Covenant and the third
Mhm.
Simmon Covenant. We don't talk about Venthyr for Brewmasters.
Yeah,
And so, like, I'm gonna play Night Fae,
yep.
and I'm gonna have a good time.
gross.
I mean, I just didn't want to be in Maldraxxus for 2 years, basically. I'd be like at least okay with some of the others, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't want to
agree with
go.
you.
I have to say I like Maldraxxus's class order hall the best. Like
Really.
my issue, Kyrian, I'm gonna fall off way too much. It's too much of a hassle. Night Fae, I feel like everything's spread way too far apart. It takes me too long to get from A to B. And then Vampire Boys literally has 2 levels, too many stairs. Can't deal with that. Doesn't work.
Yeah, to
Stairs
be
are too
fair, I
many.
have not
Maldraxxus?
actually checked out the Maldraxxus Covenant at all, so it could be
No,
alright.
no, but like Maldraxxus, it's like, okay, I want to go do this, it's right there. I want to go do that, it's right there. Super close. If I need to go to dummies, it's a little bit, but I have 2 roll charges that will get me there.
I mean, that sounds like
So the,
Borealis versus Zoldazar, where it's like Zoldazar is way cooler looking and somewhere I want to hang out, but Borealis is pretty convenient. And actually, it was
Borealis,
still
yeah.
pretty decent looking, but not my favorite theme.
Zuldazar had the downside though that half the city wanted to kill you.
that's true.
Which
Yeah,
was a
and
real
half of it
downside
was
when you took a wrong turn before you got your flying mount, and you're like, oh shit. Well, I got dismounted. I guess I'll
yeah.
sit here and do combat.
Yeah. I mean, God, it's just Maldraxxus is just gross to look at. I think it's because of it just reminds me so much of EPL that like ugh, it just brings back memories of like sitting in that zone in like vanilla, trying to like
Yeah.
farm Tyr's hand and like running to Stratholme.
I actually like EPL, but I also didn't have to do the grinds and
Yeah.
stuff in vanilla. So
Yeah.
it,
Trying to get
I,
your
I mean,
it's a
Initiator enchant from those stupid grubs.
yeah. No, I didn't have to do that.
it's not my favorite
Fire.
theme, but I like it well enough as a zone. But if I
Yeah,
was like picking a zone to hang out in for 2 years,
it
it would
wouldn't be that.
definitely not be on my list.
Yeah.
I mean, but also we haven't brought it up from chat. Oribos. I don't know what you guys think of Oribos as a capital city. I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. I like
It is
that.
amazing. Just
Yeah,
like the person said in chat, we have laps again.
yeah,
We are going to have the best AFK time in the game again. I think this is what the game is needed.
The only thing I'm kind of worried about is that it sounds like basically the play is wait, and then eventually, or like set your hearts to your covenant hall and then wait, and eventually you'll have a teleport to Oribos. I don't know how long that takes. I'm hoping it's just like a few weeks and then it's just set for the rest of the expansion. But like being able to travel between both of them will be really convenient. Yeah. Although I guess you can always just go to like use Zen Pilgrimage, go to Dalaran, go to Storm.org, and then take the portal right next to you to Orbis.
I actually, for most of 8.3, I have had my Hearthstone set in the Veil of Eternal Blossoms for the raid.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
So in order to get back to Dazarlor, I use my Dalaran Hearthstone, take the portal to Orgrimmar, take the portal from Orgrimmar to Dazarlor, and fly wherever I need to go from that, which is annoying when I need to reforge Azerite because it's really far away from the portal to Dazarlor, but
Yeah.
that's the only real downside. It's a lot easier to get to raid that way.
Yeah. I mean, on the upside, we're monks too, so like we still have Zen Pilgrim.
Right.
And we just have to take one extra loading screen and we can get it to Capital City.
Right. It's basically Zen Pilg is my backup if my Dalaran Hearthstone is on cooldown. And I also
I think I do this backwards because I always just use Zen Pilgrim because it's just on my bars, and I'm just like, all right, this is easier to click than opening up my Dalaran Hearthstone.
Okay, fair enough.
It's kind of backwards, kind of. Maybe.
Yeah, even though you're gonna have to go through one more loading screen and run down the stairs to the portal.
But you see, it's like I've gotten into the system, so it's quicker. Me having to do that, I'd have to think extra. That we already know that's dangerous. Like,
I mean, I started.
You don't want Abe thinking.
Yeah, that's a dangerous
thing. I started buying weird stuff. So like right now, Shift Home, because like it's home, is my Hearthstone hotkey. So like now I never have to open my bags again. And actually, it's not even Hearthstone; it's the Eternal Traveler's Hearthstone. So I get cool effects.
You know, I've never actually gotten one of the special Hearthstones.
This is the first one I've had because, you know,
I got 9 of the 10 Scroll of Crown Portals during the Diablo event.
Mm-hmm.
And since I don't have the 10th one, I'm kind of hoping that they'll let you get the rest of them in the Diablo 4 event, inevitably.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, fingers crossed, they're still all in my bank, and hopefully I can finish it.
So is it weird that I don't know what you guys are talking about? Like, there's like different Hearthstones?
Yeah, so like you can get Hearthstones in your toy box.
Yeah, they're cosmetic alternatives to Hearthstones that do the same thing and share a cooldown with each other and the Hearthstone.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's just a
3 or 4.
They're all identical. They look cool.
Gotcha.
The original ones were from like the card game, like you know.
Yeah,
kind
if
of
you see someone summon a miniature dark portal, as their Hearthstone, that's from the TCG.
Interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I just the green hands. That's all I know. The green hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll probably see a decent amount of the collector's edition for Shadowland one, because it's recent.
I have that.
Yeah.
There's a collector's edition one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
you have
my god.
Eternal Traveler's Hearthstone.
Delete the Hearthstone out of your bag. You still need the Dalaran and the Garrison Hearthstone, but
yeah, if you really want, you can
talk
your bags.
I don't know how to get that. I'll have to figure it out.
You open your toy box and it's there. I'll link it to you in game if you want.
I don't even know how it works. I don't. I'll figure it out.
Okay, it's exactly like a
Dom doesn't even know there's a toy box. I'm calling it now.
That's it.
No, I do. So here's the thing: is I do know. This is gonna sound really weird. I do not have a toy box because I have the gastropod thing from Throne of Thunder because I like drawing penises on top of people when they're AFK in a raid.
Very good.
So I know I have a toy box, Emallson. I don't know of any other toys other than that one. It's the only toy I know of.
I did the Dalaran mailman quest last week, so now I also have a very useful mail in my toy box with a 3-hour cooldown, which is really nice.
Is that the one you have to do the sorting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that one too. Wait, that gives you something useful?
It gives you a mailbox.
Yeah, a mobile mailbox.
Cooldown, and now that I have the Brutosaur, it means I can do auctions whenever I need to, as long as there's 3 hours between them. Pretty nice.
Oh my god, dude, I feel like I'm missing half the game here. Like we're not even talking about Shadowlands stuff now. I'm just like I'm stuck in. I thought the toy box was just drawing penises on the ground.
I mean that's half of it, but the other half.
The other half is Katie's stamp whistle, which is the mailbox.
Yeah, that's the mailbox.
Oh, all right, we're gonna.
And before they nerfed it in Legion, the Stone Fist thing with the basically there was a fist that would launch you into the air and then a glider on a 15-minute cooldown. That was pretty sick.
All right.
There's also the meteor. It also got
Yeah.
nerfed.
God.
I mean, there's also just like other teleport items. Like you can teleport to the Black Temple on a 1 hour cooldown. Like that one's super useful. The soft foam sword is great if you need to go back in time
Yeah,
to
that
do
one's good.
content. Because it'll be like damage this enemy down to 25%, and you're like casually like 10 levels higher now and 120 item levels higher, and you're like, I can't do that.
And then you proc your Heart of Azeroth and it kills it anyway.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's great. You're not angry at all. But there's also like the angler's fishing raft.
Yeah, that's actually nice. It's a good one.
Apparently,
Oh,
I have
people
that
were
too.
Okay.
talking about like
We are way
mount
off on a
equipment.
tangent right here, but I have to ask before we leave this little tangent.
Trying to get back.
How
trying to
many
get
of
back
you
to the
have the artifact fishing pole?
Oh, I
Not
do.
me.
Yeah.
I actually
I
do,
almost
and
did
I
it.
turned into a shark. I actually put
Yeah.
AP into it.
Nice.
I have most of it unlocked. I never finished it. One of these days I'm going to go back and finish it.
Yeah, I think it's like. Let me see. I'm in the game. Yeah, I have like almost all the goldens unlocked.
Pretty good.
I put a lot of AP into this thing. Jesus.
Yeah. Sitting in Ajuna doing
Just
this,
fishing it up,
the
dude.
ghostly whatever queen's fish.
I loved fishing. I didn't
But
realize this toy box was so extensive.
Just
on the
the
topic,
idea that he didn't know the toy box existed in a meaningful manner, but he had the golden fishing pole. Like,
I like
it's a little
fishing.
mismatchy.
Chill.
It's a little strange. You're right.
But on the topic of like random useful stuff like this, mount equipment, I've been told there's very little water in Shadowlands leveling. So you might want to swap out your mount equipment for the faster one, like 20% speed boost or whatever it is. And
Wait, there's a
there's probably a few
20%
other
speed
options.
boost one? I knew about the one
I-
that keeps you from getting dismounted.
Maybe I'm just thinking of that. I don't know. There's probably a more useful one than water walking to check out though, is the bottom line. So yeah.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, the stirrups, yeah, there is a 20% speed boost one. Pow is confirming. But unfortunately, the stirrups that like let you interact while mounted are a crafting thing that lasts an hour still and are zone specific. But too bad,
Gotcha.
because I would totally take that first.
All right. Well, now that we've realized that I don't know what a toy box is in World of Warcraft, maybe we can, yeah.
You know what
steer this
transmog is?
back in. Yeah, I do, because we got, yeah, well, separate thing, but yes, I'm a sweet fairy because I definitely wanted that, but it got removed today. So like now I don't know why I'm just not transmogged. I don't want to spend another 400 gold to retransmog all my stuff. So I'll just do it later.
Just gonna wait for the next trial of style. Get your free transmogs.
oh,
Sure.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, I could do that.
Just go AFK for the next like month. Because obviously you can't level with your transmog being wrong.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. You don't change gear often while leveling. You have one set and it's there forever.
No, you
The
transmog
real
every
gear.
piece as you get it. Every single
Oh,
upgrade.
I just don't put them on.
Oh, well, okay, that works too.
Jesus.
I mean,
You gotta save gold. You can't just be throwing your gold around. There's no more sales.
there's gonna be
True.
more sales in there's gonna be more sales in Shadowlands.
I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna be as hyped though. They're
I
not
mean-
gonna be as compared to the last year where corruption was actually important and there were mounts.
Well, also AOTC mount.
Yeah.
Was
Oh,
like,
is there an yeah, that too.
That's the final tier kind of bonus. That yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, give it a few months. I'm sure there'll be stuff to do.
Yeah. All right, you wanna jump over from leveling stuff over to dungeons?
I do actually. So yeah, so I it sounds like most of us maybe did, like Mickey did one dungeon, Emallson did 0. And
Yes.
Evan did a
Yes,
couple.
I did 0.
I've done all of them multiple times on key levels with real affixes too.
Yeah,
So
probably the most experience. I mean,
We
I
did
would
have
honestly
Trelsky on the show to talk about dungeon stuff a couple of weeks ago.
we did.
So if anybody wants like a real deep dive, we're not doing that here. We don't have time for that. But if you want to know more about the dungeons in particular, you can go and listen to our episode with Trelsky. We talked about dungeon design in Mythic Plus and Shadowlands.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, real quick, I don't know if there's any that you guys wanted to highlight. I think there's 2 from me that seem really cool. So the 2 I really like, one is called The Other Side, which I think just has a very cool theme, like just in general.
That's the
So
one
that
that
one's
has like different areas are actually like totally different.
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that one I think is going to be really cool to do, just in terms of like aesthetics, right, and looks. And then the other one is and oh god, hold on, I'm going to say this wrong. The Miss of Tirna Scythe.
Close. You
yeah.
actually were shockingly close. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You're
Thanks.
making progress.
I practiced before. So those are the two that I'm sort of most excited about. Like the other side, just from the aesthetics perspective, and then Miss has a cool little puzzle maze in the middle of it, where you have to like match things, which I find fun, and that's also kind of how you do the second boss there. God, my watch. So yeah, so those are kind of the two notable ones, but I don't know if there's any you guys have either seen or gone through that seem interesting.
I actually have to go completely the other way. The other side's the worst dungeon. You have
Okay.
to beat up some gnomes. That's not okay.
Perfect.
You can't do that.
It's the Mana Stones are back for the
Yeah,
12th time.
And my only thing was like, it's a little disappointing that I forget which one it is. I guess Plague Ball, right? Is like, or no, not Plague Ball. Which one is it? The Necrotic Wake is like technically the Bastion dungeon number 2. So there's not actually 2 real Bastion dungeons. It's just
Yeah.
another Malmalactus kind of themed one.
Yeah.
Like that's a little lame, but I get it. It's
I
kind of
didn't know that.
crossover. Yeah, it's like this is like Maldraxxus stuff invading Bastion stuff.
Yeah.
So like that's the dungeon, but it's like there's 2 for each zone, and that's a Bastion one.
Got you.
So there's only like one other real Bastion one. Also, let me link you guys the site which I just got linked to during this episode, which seems to be like an amazing like dungeon tip kind of site with like routes and stuff like that. It's called mythictrap.com, but that's actually what I'm using just to look at the list of dungeons right now to remind myself what some of them are.
Yeah.
This looks very useful. But yeah, honestly, I actually remember I did 2. I did Mists like months ago, and I did Halls of Atonement like a few weeks ago once. And they were both pretty solid, so I'm just looking forward to learning new ones and figuring out stuff.
If you need to learn how to do them as a brewmaster, you can go to peakofserenity.com and look at Kiov's guides.
That
True.
is correct.
Yeah.
Kiov
Kiev did actually,
has
like-
a pretty good breakdown of all the trash and important boss mechanics, but it's very much from a tank POV, a brewmaster POV. Here's where you can use Ring of Peace. Here's where you can actually mostly just Ring of Peace to deal with trash mechanics.
Great utility. on
It
that
really
class.
is. I know there's in one of the dungeons you can like paralyze something and then ring a piece it away and then run past it and not actually get in combat.
Yeah,
That's pretty nice.
Oh.
that's a pretty when you don't have a rogue, it's a great trick to know. Because paralysis will put you in combat, but only if you walk too close. Ring of Peace, the mob will run back to you, but only if it's not paralyzed.
Yeah.
Pretty good combo.
Combo.
Yeah. I think to answer James in the chat, yeah, those dungeon guides, I think they are linked on Peak now with the
Yes.
updates.
The
today.
dungeon
Yeah.
guides that
Later,
Kiov wrote
later.
are, if you go to, let me actually pull it up real quick so we can show it
Are
on
really
stream.
good, yeah.
Also,
I know that-
thank
I know
all
that-
of you for just glancing over the lore question that somebody asked.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna because the problem is after you have to answer it, I'm gonna have to answer it, and I just have no clue, dude. Like some space time continuum they showed up.
Yeah. She's got a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of really good information, especially if you're a monk.
I've seen. To be fair, I read those even as like a Mistweaver, and like they're actually helpful even for stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
when I like, go ahead. Sorry.
it's important, I think, to make sure you understand what you're going into when you read one of these, because it's not like there is not a mythic dungeon tool route on any of these, at least not right now. This isn't the weekly route. It's not gonna. You gotta actually read and pay attention to what you're reading and think about how to apply what you're reading to the dungeon you're going to do. It's a very good resource if you do that, but it's much more like a kind of bestiary dungeon journal kind of thing that includes trash and route information than it is just like step by step, here's how you do the entire dungeon kind of guide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like the Ring of Peace and whatnot, like that applies to all monks, not just like the brewmasters.
That's true.
so it's those are good. But yeah, I mean, dungeon wise, I mean the Trell episode I think really does go into some much greater detail like than here. But I mean, they all seem very good. I think the other thing is that they're just all new, right? Which will be fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not too bad. There is, I think Trell was saying there's one Toll to Gore type dungeon where you can like pull some weird stuff through some walls.
I don't remember
Forget
which
which
one
one.
that was. Was it Sanguine Depths?
I think it was Sanguine
It
It
actually.
probably be. It's the only one that's like in a house, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But he's like,
So
other than that, like pretty much everything else is pretty open and um, isn't too bad in terms of like the TD type pulling
yeah,
stuff randomly through floors, which is a nightmare and a half. So but yeah, all the dungeons, I mean, again, I think Blizzard's sort of art team and what they do kind of nailed it with a lot of them. So
Mhm.
um yeah,
how
kudos
do you
to
guys
those
feel
guys.
about them? Good.
I'm sorry.
I was just go ahead, but I was going to say, how do you guys feel about these dungeons compared to BFA dungeons?
Great question. Let you know in a week.
I'm loving them.
Yeah.
They're different,
Mm-hmm.
and people aren't
Yeah.
yelling at me to do a correct strat. And
Yeah.
I don't have a mage who doesn't know how to interrupt. Just saying, everything's on the upswing.
So,
I don't know.
selective
Yeah,
awkward.
I personally pretty much loved every Legion dungeon and pretty much hated every BFA dungeon. So I'm hoping it's, maybe not quite like Legion, but something different. But
Yeah, I mean, Trell's sort of assessment, which I think is pretty good, is that it's not the trash is not as punishing as BFA trash, right?
good.
Um, but it's also not as easy as Legion, right? Where like there's probably one or two things you have to keep on track of in each trash pack versus in BFA it was like each mob had one or two things. If the pack had like 4 or 5 mobs, you a little bit overload, right? So
Right.
that too, and then like trash wise, it didn't seem as like linear where you needed sort of Shroud and a Rogue to skip things. And there didn't seem to be any like trash packs that just no one did, right? Like the a Taldazar double honor guard pack, right? There's not something like that in at least the Shadowlands dungeon. So generally good feedback from Trell, who's done a ton. The couple that I've done, I've enjoyed it, like I said. So I mean, Abby, I don't know if you have anything specific, but
I mean, like throughout all the dungeons I did, they were all pretty chill. They like when I say that, I mean like they were fun. They weren't too stressful, and they were like, you know, if you didn't get the 2 new affixes, they were amazing. Being a
You don't like
melee with anti-melee mechanics is great, but now put that on every trash pack that just says, "Hey, you get knocked up, and this can chain."
Yeah. For me.
Yeah.
Or here's this new mob that comes whenever you kill a mob. Oh yeah, his melees do 60% of your health, and he just fixates you and charges you.
Sounds pretty fair.
I would be very surprised. Like, Heroic Week is when Mythic Plus actually comes out for the broader population.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very surprised if, like, the first time we hit one of those affixes, there isn't a hot fix on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be on Tuesday, the Tuesday of the first storming week. Reddit is going to fucking explode, and then there will be a hot fix on Wednesday.
All the warriors and all the DKs, the DPS DKs and the DPS paladins won't know what to do.
Well, like, especially if like the storming week isn't the first week. If you paid attention to the Keystone Masters tournament from last weekend, there were a lot of like basically just ranged comps, because turns out when you give range the only uncapped AoEs, they're better in the MDI polls. But as I kind of referred to earlier, people in PvE in World of Warcraft like follow the leader a little bit too closely. So I totally expect that like 2 weeks into Shadowlands keys, you're gonna go into Group Finder and people are gonna be looking for triple ranged comps. So then we're gonna end up in this situation where people are looking for only ranged comps, and then we're gonna get an anti-melee affix that does nothing to ranged, and people are gonna lose their minds.
Both of them basically do nothing to ranged. Like tornadoes are around the mobs, and then the guys fixate and run at you, but they start from where the mobs are. So if you're max range, it's like, oh, I'm a frost mage. Oh, splitting ice just kind of like passively slowed them, and now they can't get to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But outside of that, everything's great. I love them.
Nice.
I have been told, obviously I have not done them because again, I don't have beta.
I mean,
But I
just
have
log
been
in.
told that there is a larger number of the kind of like heart strike, whatever the guards in Italdas are that hit the closest target.
Yeah.
That sounds
Those
very
are fun
melee
mechanics,
friendly.
right? When you
Yeah.
like have to backpedal
I don't
out of
even know what to
melee
say.
range.
Like,
No, I
Slightly.
felt those a lot. My tank was running away a lot.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. It's not an anti-kiting mechanic. It's just it doesn't solve the kiting problem. People are still gonna kite. It's just in
Yeah.
pug keys. Sometimes there's gonna be a melee that dies when you do it. That's about it.
And the
sounds like
ranged
a
are
good-
going to be chilling.
Yeah, sounds like a good way to get full damage out of Touch of Karma. That's how I'll put it. But
100%
That's
touch
what
of
taunts is
karma
for.
efficiency, but 100% death too.
God. Yeah. So I mean, other than that, doesn't seem great. Other than melee is screwed once again. I feel like.
awesome.
So, yeah. All right, anything else on dungeons before we hit sort of our last little area, which is like the raid? All right. So the only other final thing I wanted to sort of go through tonight was just sort of some of the raid testing or some of the raid fights that are out there. So I don't know how many people got a chance to do raid testing in terms of the fights that are out there. If there's any highlights, I don't know, Abe or Mickey, if you guys got a chance to run in and do any of the fights or anything that sort of stands out, other than the fact that they're still reworking that council fight, I think.
Council of Blood had changes last week.
Yeah, still.
Wow. Yeah, I
So I
didn't
don't
do
Expansion
any
launches
raid
tomorrow,
tests.
by the way. It's
Gotcha.
okay though because the
Well,
council
Nathra
boss,
has another few weeks, so it's okay.
yeah, the council boss I think is probably maybe the best state it's been. It's not saying much because it's been in a pretty bad state for most of its existence.
Yeah.
But I mean, raid as a whole looks good. I haven't
Yeah.
obviously played any of it, but like, there's a lot of really cool looking fights. Artificer Zymox looks great.
That's the one I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about that one? Let's talk about that one.
No, I mean that's honestly that just looks the coolest. Like it's that one's the one with the portal mechanic. So like you
Yeah.
essentially dip into essentially it's like Portal if you've ever played that game where like there's a portal on one end and if you jump into it you show up on the other side. But you use those portals to basically dodge certain mechanics. Um, so I think that one's really cool. Also, we talked about this, right? The portals, I'm trying to remember correctly, the portals drop from players.
Yeah.
So like you'll be able to specifically sort of build where you want this portal network to go and sort of use that to sort of dodge the other mechanics in the raid. Um, which I find like I think that's just gonna be as long as it's done well, and it seemed to do well in testing. I think that'll be probably one of the highlights in terms of the first tier here. Um, but yeah, I didn't get a chance to do anything with Sire, the final boss, did Nathrius. Um, but yeah, the rest of them seem pretty cool. Sludge Fist, pretty solid patchwork fight. So if you enjoy patchwork fights, I think Sludge Fist is going to be pretty interesting. Um, and yeah,
Weird. They've got two like sort of patchworky fights. Hungering Destroyer
oh yeah,
has. It's hard for me to say if it's gonna have more going on than Sludge Fist on Mythic. I don't actually know if that's the case. I think they're actually pretty comparable. Both of them have
yeah,
more going on than literal patchwork, but they're both that same kind of fight.
yeah. I think Sludge Fist
Yeah.
just ends up being slightly more that capacity. So just because Sludge Fist is literally like make sure you kill him before you run out of pillars to like interrupt, right? Like that's basically the extent of that fight. Yeah, I think yeah, like Panini's saying, like I think Hungering Destroyer ends up being a little bit more involved in terms of like the final strat. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's some interesting. I mean, I think the portal boss seems really cool. They brought back another like heal the boss type fight in Kel'Thalas, right? Which I hate those things, but whatever. So
Is
yeah,
it
I mean
because
it'll. Sorry.
I was gonna say, is it because you can't see like the health bar in your raid frames go up, and there's just some like other bar that doesn't show up often?
No, it's no, it's just it's always annoying when so it's not that I can't see it because I can see the boss frames. It's just that like they're in a different spot. You know, like I'm a creature of habit, Abby. You know, once you get as old as I am, you just sort of you always do the same thing every day. And like when I have to heal something that's on the same spot, I get confused.
So,
So
I've
Can't
got a
teach an old
suggestion
dog new
for you.
tricks.
yeah, what's
Okay,
that?
take your boss frame
Okay,
and put it over first raid frame,
I can do that.
Yeah, nobody cares about the first tank.
and assuming that's a tank, put beacon on them. You'll
But,
know the difference.
but I don't play paladin. I don't have.
But you can have the paladin in your raid put beacon on them.
Oh right. Well, yeah. I mean,
Are there
paladins
going to be
trash.
paladins in this raid?
No.
I assume so.
Do
Our
those
mastery still exists.
I mean, it was nerfed, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh, I'm not a paladin.
I think it's 15% DR now, not 20. So it's like a 25% nerf, but it's a passive 3% against the whole raid instead of like who's ever near you.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's like balancing goes, and the paladins are like still in the lab trying to cook up some magic.
I mean, paladins are still very clearly not disc priests, so at least.
Yeah, They don't have spirit shield. They're not, absorb the damage.
But yeah, no, I think there are some. I mean, the invoker or the artificer fight, I think is gonna be pretty cool. I mean, I'm not too excited about Sun King Salvation. I guess is the actual name of the fight. And then Sire seems intense. At least the limited mythic stuff I've looked at, or not mythic stuff, like the mythic abilities, at least, and watching him on being fought on heroic. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like the raids are generally pretty good. I think as long as it's not another like Emerald Nightmare type deal where
Yeah.
everything was a pushover, even on Mythic, I think it'll end up being another solid raid tier. So with some cool new mechanics, like I said, I think the portal stuff will be super cool, as long as your raid is you trust the other people in your raid to move appropriately. Which if you guys had
Yes.
trouble with Juan Swamdi dropping portals on that fight, you might not enjoy that one as much. I'll say.
Or evokes.
Oh yeah, or evokes. Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Evokes were also bad. People forget where we pre-set up for sure all the time. So well cool. Any other cool dungeon stuff or any other sort of final topics on old Shadowlands? We've been at this for a while now.
I mean, I think the raid as a whole looks good despite what existing.
I mean,
I'm still looking forward to next year, and I'm hopeful that if they can't get Council of Blood into a good state, they turn it into Behemoth, like they did in Eternal Palace, where that boss like technically existed, and you walked in and you one shot it.
I'm scared that due to the launch time of the raid, so like in mid-December, right? It's gonna they're gonna kind of want it to be a pushover, so the developers can not have to pay attention all too hard, and actually relax, because I'm pretty sure they haven't been relaxing for the last little bit, even though with some of the monk bugs that still exist, it can seem like it.
Yeah, they were too busy reworking.
And updating the fight, they just had to keep touching it.
God. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I still think the raid will be a good time. Even if it is a pushover, I think there's going to be some interesting fights. I think the aesthetics too look really cool. So, it's set in Revendreth if folks were not aware.
Yeah, so this is the real Castlevania 3D.
Heck yeah, brother. So, that's cool. Well, awesome guys. Any other final thoughts just on Shadowlands as a whole? Anybody wanted to do some shout outs? I guess we did get a question from chat, which I think we should probably answer here, which is what covenant are you guys playing?
Night Fae.
I mean,
Yeah.
Mickey's just going Night Fae. Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
Any
Mickey's a
reason?
furry.
Nope.
Just because
Although,
it's the best, or
what's
you
with
actually
the
love the aesthetic?
Night Fae equals furry thing? Because for one thing, The night
transform
fae
into a
are
fox.
literally bugs.
Okay, you
They're
clearly didn't watch the
bugs.
Salute. You didn't watch the Salute Mistweaver podcast where I talked about Night Fae and potentially liking them, and I instantly got called a furry, and now everybody in Pete calls me a furry.
That's
I
true.
mean, I do remember that.
Why?
Well, I don't understand why night fae equals like I can understand if you're like a Volpera night fae monk. Okay, yeah, okay, you're a furry. Hi,
Soul
Puro.
shape turns you into a fox by default. That's all you need.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
Yeah.
Not even that
Actually, I
complicated.
do look forward to collecting soul shape variants because that sounds pretty fun.
Okay, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So wait, why aren't shamans furries then? Because they get Ghost Wolf.
They are.
Because their
They just,
ability is
Oh,
poop.
okay.
there's better targets if you want to call a class
Okay,
a
I
furry.
see.
Like
I see.
druids. So they just don't really get the brunt of it.
Yeah, I guess shamans we take it easy on them because they don't have a whole lot going for them anyway.
True.
The forgotten class.
Just be nice to them. They need it.
And I mean, we also gotta be nice to them because I've been told lore-wise, technically we are a subset of shaman.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, so first of all, Abby, I'm not taking lore advice from you about anything.
No. Hold on. I didn't say I know this lore. I'm saying I've been told this lore by somebody else.
I don't even trust your sources.
Okay. I mean, Mickey's backed it up, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, when you think about it, everything at some point is a very specialized mage. Like, we're fist mages, warriors are sword mages, priests are holy mages. Like, it's all mages all the way down.
Fair. That's fair. Oh man. I don't know, Abby. What do you thinking? So we got Mickey going Night Fae. What are you going? Abby, bud?
Kyrian, baby, all day.
Oh, good choice. What about you,
I mean-
Emallson?
I'm probably going Night Fae, but
Wrong answer.
the
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud.
I was honestly not really thinking about it because I was just going to go with whatever seemed the best, which I had resigned myself for it to be Venthyr, and then they fixed Venthyr's ability, so now it's actually kind of bad. And on single target, which is what mostly matters for raid, like single target and two target cleave, not Venthyr, Kyrian, Night Fae, and Necrolord, all are very similar in terms of like damage output. And none of them has a like very clear, compelling reason this is why you should take it. I think probably the most compelling reason is that Leyline Stomp is a better ability than Weapons of Order or Bone Dust Brew, or an actual class that does damage. Well, not that Brewmasters actually do damage, but you know. Or that's your primary thing that you do during a fight is you press damage buttons. So Weapons of Order, bad ability. Just like absolutely. It's on GCD, you push it, nothing happens. You push it, you get a buff, like your Keg Smash is better, but it's not even like your next Keg Smash is better. It's your next Keg Smash makes the Keg Smash after it better.
Does it not reset the cooldown of Keg Smash for you?
It does reset the cooldown of Keg Smash.
Huge value. Alrighty, I'm going Kyrian.
And then there's like Bone Dust Brew, which is again, you press it and nothing happens. It just means that the next thing you hit, there's a chance that something happens.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, hit the next thing a lot of times at once.
Yeah, and I mean that also changes a lot depending on soul binds, because like with Bone Dust Brew, you throw it, you can gain 13% primary stat.
So
That's just a crank.
With from like, you know, as a me point of view as a healer, oh, I have a lot of hots out. That's pretty nice. Because hots don't snapshot anymore. So it's like when you update, it updates.
Right. The only thing that applies to you for Brewmaster is Breath of Fire, which Breath of Fire dot is not a big.
Well, you're sleeping on our boy Rushing Jadewind.
Yeah, or Spitfire. I mean,
I
that's
actually did a lot of Sims with Spitfire because our legendary that's looking like the best is can't say this name. Oh my god.
Oh, let's
Hamlet,
go.
if you're listening, please, for the love of God, hotfix tomorrow morning, change the fucking name of Charred Passions.
I can picture it on the romance novel shelf at a supermarket.
Oh yeah.
It's so bad. But the legendary effect itself is actually kind of good because it actually makes us change our rotation a little bit. It has some other effects, but um, notably, you get a buff for 8 seconds when you cast Breath of Fire, but the Breath of Fire debuff lasts 15 seconds, 12 seconds, or something like that. So if you can get more Breath of Fire's casts, it actually gives you benefit. So I did try Spitfire. It's not good, but I did try it.
That's awesome. And of course, I'll be going Kyrian. Like, if there was any choice, right? They started as the best, they end as the best. Actually, not the best. I think
I'm still like I just can't take. I'm not going Kyrian on Monk. Like it could be. It would have to very seriously be the best by a large margin before I would go Kyrian because I just don't want to use weapons of order.
Here, let me go call my boy Ian and make that happen real quick.
yeah.
Like actually,
you-
so there is one scenario basically that I could see myself switching to Kyrian this tier, and that is if the bleed removal from the Kyrian potion ends up being relevant on Sire Denathrius, then I won't go Kyrian.
Yeah.
Regardless
Oh,
of damage.
yeah. That's something that I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
we've never talked about, but the non-class specific covenant abilities, like to me, I see it as like, okay, Venthyr is a teleport. It's all right. Like bone dust or bone shield or whatever it is, it's like it's a shield. It's all right. Weapons or the whatever it is, call your owl boy. Like that is just. I get that like you would probably have your bind on the potion and have the owl boy somewhere else, but like that's just so stupid that your like cool covenant ability is like basically an engineering toy, and then you get a potion.
Hold
That's your cool
up.
spot. Like I don't want that. I
Buddy,
will
you
take
get
a
a swole owl to come
I will
beat
take
the
a
Fogo
blink
up
with
for
the
you.
improved movement speed form tied to it, like any day.
But he brings you items that you can use. Like he
Yeah,
gives
but the other
some,
ones
and it's
are
random.
things that you use in a fight and like in the world, and not like sitting in Ouroboros.
Yeah, but look,
Buddy,
I
he
mean,
gives it to you before the fight. Like he saves you GCDs mid-fight.
exactly.
And you're a monk. You already have all the mobility you need. You have a
I want
teleport
more.
through trans.
I want more. I want a double jump.
But
You
Actually, I
wanted
want
you
a
wanted the 4 rolls. You wanted the 4 rolls. That's
yeah.
what it was.
you all are missing the most important thing.
Oh, are we about to fight? Is that what's about to happen?
If you're Night Fae, you get to AFK and travel form.
True.
Even if you're not a druid.
That's not a benefit. I like
Yeah,
my
it is.
transmog. I like my terrible transmog.
I
Uh,
can already
So
turn into a fairy with my transmog. I don't need another thing to turn me into a fairy.
So plus on top of this, I have a toy box. I know Anom doesn't know what this is, but there are things to change your appearance in there
there are
too.
things that change your appearance for 5 minutes every 3 hours.
I
Hey.
found another thing that's cool in my toy box. It's that dude that turns you into bosses. I've used him before. I didn't realize that was a toy because it's just on my bars. I thought it was an item in my bag, so I'm not gonna lie. Until I started
Oh my
clicking
god,
them out.
Anom, you've been playing this game for too long. You know mounts are not items in your bags anymore, right?
I do know that.
Battle
I
Pets
do know
2.
that.
Battle Pets 2.
You don't have to
I
go
know-
select soul shards to use them as a warlock anymore. They just come through fighting.
God, I didn't know that. I haven't played my warlock in forever. But I swear to God, I thought that the ethereal dude was an item for the like until I started clearing out my bags because I don't clean out my bags too often. So
Oh.
yeah, shit. You guys know about how bad I'm at this game. This isn't good.
That's okay.
Well, anyway,
Hey, oust him. Get him out of here.
on the covenant choices, it sounds like they've done a pretty good job balancing because with 4 players here, we have all 2 covenants represented, pretty equally.
I will say, as a Mistweaver, like it kind of falls into the Brewmaster fam, where it's just like pick something, have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really.
Honestly, they seem okay. They seem like they did. Their goal was probably, or was explicitly throw as many choices into one bag as possible, or like as many whatever results into one choice bag as possible, so that there's no clear answer. And like,
I mean,
I guess that's pretty
I
much
don't
what happened. There's
entirely
definitely
think
some clear
that they
answers,
succeeded
different
on that.
content, but like,
But yeah,
There's
Sadly,
definitely throw
Go ahead.
picks, as in Venthyr for monks. But yeah,
If you are playing Brewmaster, you could pick any of the 4 covenants for rating and be fine.
that's
Venthyr
pretty
is
good.
about 8% behind. Like, it's not a small
Not
amount, but if you're a heroic raider or you're like a kind of guild that clears heroic in a month or two, then goes into mythic bosses, like, you can play Venthyr. It's going to be totally fine. I would expect it to get actually buffed before too deep into the patch because it is pretty noticeably behind. But any of the other 3, especially, like, go ham, go crazy. I'm going Night Fae because I want to go Night Fae. You want Kyrian? Go Kyrian. You want Necrolord? Go for it. Necrolord shield is still pretty bad as a tank, but the rest of it's good. Also, General Draven, I think, has the really, like, what is it called? The Blood Decay talent. It gives you the, like, shaves off. I don't know. It has a really good trait. But yeah.
All of Vinthyr's, when I was going through it, like all of Vinthyr's traits just felt so good. And I look at it, I'm like, Fallen Order.
Yeah.
5 Vivifies on a 3-minute cool, or 5 Enveloping Mist on a 5-minute or 3-minute cooldown.
Yeah.
The conduit that makes it just overheal more.
Yeah, I was writing the conduit guide earlier for Brewmaster, and I was going through them, and I got to Fallen Order, and I was like, what do I even say about this? Like, it literally says everything you need to know about the conduit on the conduit, which is very rare in World of Warcraft. Like, Bone Dust Brew has a 2.5 second cap on the CDR you get from it. Nowhere in the toolkit.
That's Bone Marrow Hops.
Or sorry, Bone Marrow Hops. Bone Marrow Hops, yes, sorry. Bone Marrow Hops, 2.5 second maximum cooldown reduction. Nowhere on the conduit does it say that.
Reminds me of a certain spinning crane spell of some variety that got a cap in BFA beta with no mention on tooltips in game or in patch notes or in even data mining. It just kind of happened. So,
They're all good about that. Oh shit! We lost Anomoly.
The old man finally decided to leave.
He finally expired. Yeah.
This is awkward.
I clicked the wrong button. I'm back. Sorry. Yikes. Sorry about that.
Did it mess up the stream?
Very briefly.
I think we're okay.
We are okay now.
Cool. All right. Any other final topics before we get into our final section of the podcast?
I think it is time for your favorite section. I think it's question time.
Oh, it's question time. All right. Well, as always, it is now Q&A time, where you guys send us your questions, and Emallson and I, and any of our guests, in this case Mickey and Abe, get to answer them. So we have a couple here. We're going to go through these fairly quickly because we've been here for a little bit, but we're going to take questions, at least from ones that have submitted earlier, since this is our first little stream thing. Maybe in the future, I'll pull them from chat, but for now, we're going to stick to the script, which is you sent me your questions early and I put them on the spreadsheet. And so now we're going to get into that. All right. So first question comes from Arkenheit. And this person actually told me how to pronounce their name, and I still butcher. I think it's Arkenheit.
It is. You got it right.
Arkenheit. Okay, cool. They ask, how satisfied are you with the range and significance of gameplay decisions in your spec, and why?
This could be an entire podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the short and long of it is that, as I think each of the, at least in the case of Mistweaver, right, we have a very sort of defined like reactionary type healing style. So there's very little in terms of things we can do to like preemptive or build or do any sort of like quote unquote ramping, such as disc, right? There's a couple of minor things like making sure you use renewing mist on cooldown, right? But for the most part, pretty much damage happens, we hit buttons that heal it. So I mean, in my mind, as someone who generally does a lot of like call outs in terms of like healing, right, for my raid and things like that, it's very much great for me because I don't really have to think too often, right? It's like damage goes out, I heal it using a spell I understand, and then go from there. I don't have to worry about like there's damage coming up in the next 15 seconds, which means I need to start ramping, if I play disc, right? So for me personally, I'm fine with that. I think maybe a little bit more complexity in terms of like fist weaving and sort of building in damage into converting that to healing would be cool. But they're doing a little bit of that with some of the talents and stuff this expansion. So I'm pretty happy so far. I don't know, Abby, if you have a different point of view on at least the Mistweaver side of things.
No, I mean, no, it's pretty, hit the hammer, hit the nail on the hammer. I don't know how to say the phrase. I don't care.
Hit the nail on
You
the
hit it,
head.
yeah, yep, there you go. There you go. You hit it on the head. I mean, like, all the decision making is like, when do I press revival? It's like, oh, heal leader told me then. I press it at 3 minutes and 35 seconds, so I can cheese and annoy a druid within the first 35 seconds of a fight, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Brewmaster. I, I'm gonna have to see how it plays in Castle Nathria and in Dungeons next or this coming year, because it's very hard to judge based off of my time playing in pre-patch, where Brewmaster stands right now. The like damage rotation still has no procs, nothing going on. You still very static rotation, so there's not a whole lot going on there. And defensively, purifying, we do it so often, like we can purify almost every 6 seconds. There's no real thought into it because you just got to keep purifying, keep from wasting purifying brew charges. The real thing that has potential is Celestial Brew. And I've been impressed in Nyalotha because I didn't expect this, but it has actually been fine to just sit it and let it sit on cooldown. Because the raid just doesn't do any damage, which is why I don't know what I think about it. Because if the raid doesn't do any damage, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, then when you get a Celestial Brew on a correctly timed thing, and it actually consumes the whole ability and like does a lot of healing, that's cool. But of course, I don't know how that's going to translate into next tier. And if next tier the thing you do is you press Celestial Brew on cooldown, then you press everything on cooldown. Like and I say none. There's still like you gotta judiciously be like, okay, there's this mechanic coming up in 5 seconds. I need to delay this ability by 5 seconds. This Celestial Brew by 5 seconds to handle it, but very few and far between.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I don't know, I guess Mickey on Windwalkers.
Yeah, I mean, when I actually read this question, I thought it was talking more about like not during gameplay itself, but like as in a fight, but more of like talent selection and builds and stuff like that. Which I would have said pretty unsatisfied. There's basically like one build and you can pick your favorite chi generating ability, but like it's pretty static and there's not really any real choice there or variety. Um, but on the actual gameplay side, I think it's pretty similar to the level of the last two expansions, which is in a place that I'm happy with, where I guess it's mostly about planning ahead and getting like stuff inside of Storm, Earth, and Fire or Serenity. But let's be real, it's just Storm, Earth, and Fire. Um, and I like. I think something about it that I like is that a lot of it is kind of cleavy by default, but not everything. So you still have like a little bit of choice when it comes to like, oh, this pack has 3 mobs in it or two, or like maybe there's a priority target or whatever. Um, overall, it's still basically pretty similar to the last two expansions, and it's in a place I like. So yeah,
That's actually one thing that I do think I'm pretty happy about. Brewmasters have a legendary that is actually going to change our rotation for the first time. Like we have not had any borrowed power ever that has changed our rotation at all. But Charred Passions again coming in clutch.
Love it. Love it.
When it's like you gotta Breath of Fire becomes our highest priority ability while the buff from it is unavailable is down, and then when the buff is up, we actually use Spinning Crane Kick on single target instead of Tiger Palm.
Oh.
I guess that happens with Mistweaver too, with like Yulong. Now that I think about it, I guess it's just like I've been talking about Shadowlands so much, it just feels like what it's been. But now you like replace Essence Font cast with Enveloping Mist cast because it's just more healing per second in general and better mana efficiency when your Celestial's up. But like, I don't think it really changes your thought process. You're like, all right, I need an AOE heal. This is now my best AOE button instead of this one. Boom.
Yeah, it is though. Yeah, from a Mistweaver perspective, it is interesting that enveloping now becomes a spell we want to use in raids where I mean, for the large part of the past two expansions, it's been sort of something. It's only really seen a ton of use in Mythic Plus because nothing really hit hard enough to make use of enveloping, other than Emerald Nightmare, and the tank damage in that raid was pretty significant. So you used it there, but I mean, yeah, I guess it is a little interesting. I don't know. I think sort of happy across the board. It sounds like with all the specs. So
As always, things could be better, but yeah, I think that's all right.
yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Ark and Height, for that question. Next up, we got a dual question. Comes from two individuals. So this question is from D and Petidolf. Petidolf. I think that's how you say that. They asked very similar questions. I'll combine them in two. But the first question is basically, why are monks not more popular than they are? What do you think the main thing that puts people off? And then Dalf added, do you think if monks were a more popular class, we would see a higher number of changes? Um, so yeah, I don't know your thoughts. I think generally speaking, monks being added later in the game, sort of hurt it in terms of like the number of people that will play it. I also think that in terms of like individuals coming new to World of Warcraft, in terms of like an MMO or an RPG, are generally going to pick more like traditional archetypes in terms of like their class. So like that's why you'll see like mages, priests, you know, paladins, warriors, things like that being some of your more more played class, even hunters, right? Like they're if you pick a hunter, you know exactly what you're doing, right? If you pick a warrior, you kind of understand what you're getting yourself into. Like monks, I think, sort of fit a space that's a little bit different. And I don't think that hits DKs at all, just because they're sort of termed as the hero class, right?
I think
Um,
that's actually part
so
of it too. So if you look at the three new classes that have been added to WoW after release, we have monks, we have DKs, and we have demon hunters. And notably, monks are the one that started at level 1,
right,
and that's a big deal. I mean, I'm very sure that that's why demon hunters started at level 90. Level, yeah, 90.
yeah,
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 for
I think
sure.
you're right there.
It was the 90 or whatever, but yeah.
Because even though monks basically level twice as fast because of the XP buff, some faster, whatever it is, it just doesn't make up for that in people's minds. They go, "Oh, I had to start over entirely." Where when you look at like a DK, you started at level 55 when those were released. Level 55 was only 15 levels behind the level cap that you would have been at. It's a lot less to go through.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember leveling my monk. I did the recruiter friend thing where you could give levels to your character, right? So like I literally had a second account and leveled it just so I had enough free levels to get my monk to whatever the max was going into MLP. What was that, like 80, right? Or
Yeah,
85?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I mean, I think that's probably the biggest turnoff in terms of like why it's not more popular is that I think archetype wise it doesn't really fit sometimes, and I think the second part of it is like it's not quit like it's you have to level from the beginning, right? So
I mean, I do
um,
think the archetype thing is very real too because
yeah,
the monk class in WoW is not like a monk in most other like properties.
yeah,
Honestly, I would say the monk in WoW is a very confused class that doesn't know what it wants to be in terms of aesthetics,
yeah,
and that means that there's a lot of things that just kind of don't mesh. Things like Hatmaster, Windwalker, and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, we have the Celestials, but why do we have the Celestials? And also, they're a Windwalker, except none of their abilities use wind, and Brewmasters being like, oh, big old drunks,
right,
except that
yeah,
like I don't know, it's just a very confused thing where there's nothing about monk that is like, oh yes, I want to play monk because of that cool thing about the monk fantasy.
right,
There's nothing like
yeah,
big and flashy, kind of like you look at a demon hunter and they hit meta. Like that's all you need to see. You see a demon hunter hit meta, and you know why people play the class.
yeah. Or just like the some of the lore behind it. Like if you know anything about World of Warcraft, you realize like demon hunters are basically Illidan, so like that's like cool,
Yeah,
right? So Yeah, and I think the second part of this from like basically Dalf was like, do you think we get more changes if we were a more popular class? And
Yes.
honestly, you think, I mean, potentially. I mean, you look at, you know, some classes though that like you would think are more popular don't see, a ton of changes, but they're also better. Like they're set up better from like a baseline perspective. So
I
I don't know if that's a direct like
I don't
popularity
know
is like a
that
direct
it's
correlation.
not. I think it's yes and no, to be totally honest. I think it's a little bit of yes and
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
because there's elements of there's more players, there's a larger community that is going to be putting pressure on Blizzard to get things fixed,
Mhm.
and I would say that the monk community is actually very organized, and that has helped make up for our relative lack of people.
Right.
Um, and that's let us put pressure on Blizzard to fix things. Which, if
Mm-hmm.
you look at their response to things like the Reddit, class feedback threads, I think they are a little bit miffed at how organized we could be.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
little bit too far, probably too organized.
Yeah.
We're like,
but
whoa, whoa, whoa. We were looking for some lore questions, not these hard hitting ones you're sending us. We're trying to be more transparent, but not actually be transparent.
Exactly.
but yeah, I do think we would see more changes if Monk were actually more popular. I think it's this kind of negative cycle where because Monk isn't popular, though getting those issues surfaced and brought to Blizzard and be like, this is a really serious issue is harder for us.
Yeah.
It's harder for them to filter out of all the other feedback that they get. It's not like a malicious thing like, oh well, there's fewer subscribers that play Monk, therefore they're lower on the priority list than, I don't know, mages. It's more of just like they get all this feedback, and the less feedback they get about something, probably the less important it's going to seem to them.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
They also just have a ton of other game to make.
Yes.
Like if they just did class changes, I feel like you could see a spread of changes and like what makes people happy and identify. But like when you're adding like, oh yeah, typically changes roll in with, new raids coming out, potentially new dungeons, a whole new expansion, which brings borrowed power and whatnot, new reps, new story every time. Like it starts to really like how much developer time do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So awesome. Petadolf D. Thank you very much for the questions. So we only got a couple more here. We'll get through quickly. So maybe. Next up is Nibble Pie, and they ask, who are your favorite WoW content creators that deserve more love? Bonus points for nominating people that most of us won't know already. So I'll be completely honest with you. Like I watch very okay. So other than I don't know if you guys heard it. It's this guy by the name of Noble87. He does videos about the lore of World of Warcraft, which I religiously watch on almost a weekly basis. So I know about everything that goes on, how the story is.
Mhm.
Now, but other than him, I mean, I don't really know many. Like, I know people who like post things about it, but to be fair, like, I don't watch much WoW like content, right? Like, I watch the big streamers in terms of like, like actually watch a lot more Mythic Plus streamers than anything else. So like Tettles and
Yeah.
like Trell and those guys. To be fair, I watch those guys a lot. But yeah, I mean, I don't like YouTube wise. Like, I don't. I know Mad Skills is out there doing some monk stuff. I know that there's some other sort of people like Bellular putting out stuff. But I mean, other than big people, I don't really know. I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys have anybody else.
I don't watch a whole lot of Twitch in general. Um, a bit ironic, but um, aside from like the big names inside of WoW, I could give you a lot of recommendations outside of WoW. But in WoW, um, probably like the least known thing is if you've not seen his videos, Murdoch from Strawberry Puppy Kisses has done really good raid fight breakdowns.
Oh yeah.
His N'Zoth breakdown in particular was extremely helpful as we were doing our preparation for that fight. And like that's a very much like a raid strat prep kind of thing. But if you are here because you like to raid, that's a good thing to know about. And there are some other smaller like YouTubers that do things like that as well. I'm trying to think of any. Because where do I draw the line between like larger and smaller, right? There's Fat Boss, which obviously everybody knows. And a lot of the other ones I remember by name, but I could go and dig them out if I wanted to click around on my computer on stream.
I don't know, Mickey or Abe. Any other names?
I it's weird. If you asked me this like during WOD, I would probably have a lot of answers for you. And I just kind of fell out of watching WoW content in general. I don't know. It's a game I like to play more than I like to watch or engage in, I guess.
Yeah.
This is kind of unusual because a lot of other games like Smash or Overwatch or something like that, I'll end up watching more than I actually play. So WoW is kind of the flip side of that. And I don't know if I probably will gain some if I end up sticking with the expansion for longer. Um, but yeah, right now I got nothing.
Gotcha. I don't know, Abe, you got anybody?
For me, I'm like almost fall in the exact same boat as Mickey. Well, actually, no, not at all. Because I hardly pick up any like content that I'll watch. But like in the boat that he is in right now, where there's nobody really that he's watching,
Yeah.
I'm almost there. There's only one person I watch, and it's because it's just very relaxing, and it's Hazelnutty Gaming, and that's the
That's
only
one.
person.
Yeah.
And it's very relaxed. I don't feel like I'm going to go get told what to do or anything like that, or be like this is best or I don't like this new system because it's not letting me min max. It's just like I'm here to collect some mounts.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. As you can see, all of us are very much WoW content fiends. Kind of trying to consume everything we can.
I consume so much of my own content for WoW. I just can't take anyone else's.
I mean, I
True.
think that's the other part of it is that like
Yeah.
at a certain
Yeah,
point, like
totally.
we write so much, we do the podcast. It's just like I don't want to spend other time like watching WoW stuff. So
I mean, if you've never
I
heard
got
of
some
Peak of
great
Serenity,
Factorio
that's a
streamers though.
content creator.
Oh, sorry.
Who, Mickey?
If you've never heard of Peak of Serenity, there's a content creator to
Oh
support.
baby, let's go. I heard they have a terrible Windwalker or Mistweaver guy. Mistweaver.
That one.
Yeah, I mean
Who? Which one?
probably the main like WoW content that I actually consume, besides just being on Discord way too much, way too much, is like the Titan Forge podcast, and Noble's videos. In
Noah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Titanforge's good. Those guys are good over there.
those
My boy
are all big
Gynos.
names.
Yeah, I mean Gynos is the biggest. He's my boy. Give me the 6 strats. Shout out to our Rare.io podcast. We confirmed him and I are best friends. So cool. Well, awesome, Nibble Pie. Sorry we weren't able to give you better answers. But hopefully there's a couple gems in there that you can pull from. All right, 2 more. So we got Sir Jamestown. Are you from Jamestown would be the question. But they ask, if I wanted to min max and I don't like switching gear and enchants, would making 3 monks, one of each spec, be possible? In
So I
terms
need to
of
take this
time.
one
I'm sorry.
because
All right, go for it.
this person asked this in general and also in Shadowlands, and both times they were told you are crazy. And then in Shadowlands they asked it again, and I said you are still crazy in this channel. So now I know you're in chat. I saw you commenting earlier. I will say you are still crazy on the podcast, and the the grind of doing like renown and Torghast and getting legendaries and all of that stuff on 3 separate characters versus getting gear, of course, is the biggest thing on 3 separate characters versus like the tiniest amount that you'll gain from being in like the most optimal covenant for that specific piece of content. I just don't think it's even close to worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing you guys won't really disagree, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
so even once you get them all leveled, like let's assume that you could level them all up without too much difficulty. Then you still have to gear all of them. You got 3 sets of weekly resets to do. you've got like you're doing 3 times the work of maintaining a character.
For like
You
2% damage on single target.
Yeah, for one class. When you could do this is what I did for all of BFA. When I wanted to play one of the other specs, I would switch specs, change weapons, and that's it. I would usually not even I would have spare Azerite in my bags from like old gear I wasn't using that I would reset and use for other specs. But you won't have to do that in Shadowlands. So you'll have to that's it.
If I had like on use damage trinket, then maybe I would swap it for like that one. That's about it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, like when you're playing an off spec, people don't expect you to be re-enchanting all of your gear to be optimal for your off spec.
Yeah.
I mean, from my point of view here, you're like asking for each spec, like one per spec. And you only play Mistweavers one, you only play Brewmasters one, you only play Windwalkers one. And from what I've gathered is Kyrion's amazing for Windwalker, top tier. When you come down to the micro numbers, like the splitting of hairs, and then same with Mistweaver. And Brewmaster doesn't matter because you're a Brewmaster. So like you can just play Kyrian and be done.
I mean, so what I thought emallson was going to bring up was you're spending the time on 3 characters, you're doing 3 times the work, and doing it all in one class. Is if you're doing 3 times the work anyway, roll 3 different classes. One of them is going to be more optimal. Like if you want like a single target raid class, like pick whatever the flavor of the month is, whether it's like rogue or mage or whatever, go that, and then do a second character that's your Mythic Plus character and gear them only for that and only do Mythic Plus on them, That's, I think, would be more worth it if you really want to do 3 characters for something.
Yeah.
And from my knowledge, Mythic Plus now doesn't drop the best gear or tied with Heroic even, like from the raid. Yeah. So you'd have to either like min-max to the Heroic level or find 3 guilds that you can raid with, or 1 or 2 characters will be behind for a reasonable amount of time until you get to farm.
Yeah. And even if like you play like me, like I play Brewmaster, I didn't have Windwalker weapons that were competitive for most of this expansion. Except when I got lucky and bonus rolled slappers 2 weeks in a row. That was fun. But it wasn't quite 2 weeks in a row, but it's pretty fast compared to our shaman that got it like the last week of 8.3. Sorry, Vaughn. But that's okay. I can still play it with a Mythic Plus cash item, a random Mythic weapon I got, and it's okay that I don't have the BIS Windwalker weapons or the BIS Windwalker traits. I can still play that, and it'll be worse, but I still have all of my max eye level stuff in every other slot. And that's going to make up the gap between, like, if I were trying to play 3 different monks, and I logged on my Windwalker, and it would have 0 mythic gear.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's Sir Jamestown. You're crazy. I wouldn't do it. I think Mickey makes the point of like pick 3 different classes, level those, do the same thing, and just be aware that your off specs are going to be slightly worse than whatever you main on that class. So
okay, before we move on to the next question, on the subject of small content creators, I remembered one of the ones I was trying to think of. Kalamazi, another one that does they do beta testing, pre-patch guides, PTR testing, that kind of thing, and raid boss breakdowns, that kind of stuff. That they have some good ones as well. I don't think like Murdoch obviously raids at a very high end guild and is very good at breaking them down. So if you can find a video that he's got on that, that's like the best. But definitely good to look for other videos as well. Not that fat boss guides are bad or anything, but seeing things from perspectives, like literally multiple different perspectives in game, is useful.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, Sir Jamestown, Nibble Pie, there's an extra one for you, but Sir Jamestown, thank you for the question. Finally, final question. This is from Hursty. They ask, what is your favorite okay, restart that. What is your favorite starter Pokemon of the first 3 editions?
It is Cyndaquil. That is the answer.
Wait, who?
Cyndaquil.
Which
Second
one's
Fire
which
Breath.
one's Gen 3? Is that Emerald generation?
Emerald, right? If I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, it's Emerald. Yeah.
Yep.
Which the obvious answer is Mudkip.
For
He
some reason, I knew you were going to say that. That's just like very.
beats Cyndaquil. Like in a one-on-one, he just smashes Cyndaquil every time. Like
So, Emerald was actually the first Pokemon game that I played, and obviously in Emerald it is Trico. Like, I'm sorry, but you're both wrong.
No, okay, I can accept Trico.
But overall, like I have such a hard time picking between Bulbasaur and Charmander.
Yeah.
Like I like them both for different reasons.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay, so hold on.
No one's gonna have to learn the new
Squirtle
ones.
Squad?
Hey, if Mudkip wasn't in it, I'm Squirtle Squad. But if Mudkip's in it, Mudkip's Mudkip. He's just
Dude,
like
Squirtle.
he's like a Wooper, but with 4 legs. Like that's amazing.
Have you ever seen the
Squirtle-
beta design for Wooper? It has 4 legs. It's very
Does
good.
it? I'm gonna look it up. I gotta look
Yeah.
it up.
Oh my god. Now, like Squirtle, he eventually gets massive water cannons and he wears sunglasses in the cartoon. Like, how do you not pick Squirtle?
I mean,
He's a boss.
any of them can wear sunglasses on the internet.
Yeah, but dude, Squirtle was like.
Isn't there a
Dude, so-
Charmander?
Oh.
Or not a Charmander, but a Charizard that wears sunglasses in the show?
I mean,
No.
I don't know. The show's been going on for 30 years
It's
now,
probably
so-
everything's been in sunglasses, but no, I mean, I played when I first picked up Pokemon for my Game Boy original, which was as big as a brick.
It was on
I
I had
release
one of
day.
those. I did not have.
It was actually on release day. I'll be completely honest with you.
No, mine was
I
not.
did. I picked Squirtle off the bat, dude. It's still the best Pokemon. It's actually, to be fair, I don't know who any of the other ones you mentioned were. I only ever played Gen 1.
How would I have known?
It's the only
Very
time the game
unpredictable.
was good, man. But yeah, no, I was a huge Squirtle fan. You guys can take your Mudkips and your Star Lords. Get out of here. Whatever you said, Mickey. I actually don't remember.
Cyndaquil, yeah. I like all the Gen 2 ones in general. I don't like any of the Gen 3 ones that much. I like all the Gen 2 ones. I like Bulbasaur.
That's fair. We'll let it pass. So, Hursty, thank you very much for the question.
Okay, but we can't leave this question and ignore the greatest travesty of any Pokemon game.
Okay.
What?
The Fire Cat and what is it? Sun and Moon?
Yeah, Litten.
Yeah, Lyn?
Yeah.
It turns into a fucking WWE wrestler as its
Hey,
third
yeah.
evolution?
Wait, let me look at this. What is this called? What is this thing's name?
Incineroar is probably my least favorite Pokemon of all time.
I
Lyn
was
is
so like, okay, so I picked that Pokemon as my starter in that game, and you know, first evolution, it's like, okay, great, I got a bigger Fire Cat. That is what I expected. That is what I wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I did the second evolution, and I'm like hype. Okay, it's like evolution time. Let's go. Give me this big ass fire lion. Let's go. And it's a fucking wrestler. It's a fucking wrestler.
Oh, this is with Incineroar. Is that who it
Yes.
is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
like Incineroar is kind of amazing just because of Smash. Like he's
I don't care. I put him in my
Mickey's-
bank, and he has not come back out.
Yeah. I didn't let my Litten evolve. I said I put him in the Pokédex or the box.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I just imagine him from Smash now, and me just throwing people around or killing myself because of up B, and that's all he is to me. And it's just amazing, pure fun.
That's so funny.
I freaked out so hard that my webcam decided to defocus me because it couldn't find my face.
You're so excited.
I cannot believe that evolution is real.
So good.
The whole like the trend that I hate that's like Pokemon are like a character or too humanoid or whatever. It's like I don't like that. It should be a species, more generic kind of. Yeah, whatever. That's off topic.
Yeah, that's off topic.
Fair enough.
Oh.
Oh man. All right. Well, Hursty, you've evoked some interesting responses. Everybody else here was wrong, but not everybody's right when we get to the Q&A section. So Squirtle, best Pokemon. I think that was a consensus.
I mean, you gotta get with the times, old man.
God, I'm so old. Still remember picking that up, playing that. God. All right. Anyway, let's stop talking about how much of a boomer I am, and that is it for Q&A. So I think that's it for our episode, Emallson.
Yep. I think that is going to just about wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to support it and all the other work that we do over at the Peak of Serenity, including all of our new guides for Shadowland, talking about legendaries and covenants and conduits and raid and dungeon guides, all that stuff, you can do that over on our Patreon at patreon.com/Peak of Serenity. And as always, we really appreciate your support, both financially through Patreon, of course, but also from hanging out in Discord and coming and hanging out with us today on Twitch as we streamed this episode of the podcast. And if you want to see us stream future episodes, be sure to tell us so. I'm not sure what our plans are for next week, but we might be streaming again next week, and we will see how that goes. But in any case, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Oh, I forgot to say bye.
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 I was waiting for the bye.
Bye.